evening, everyone.
Good evening.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year confirmed at the annual meeting are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Copies of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the record, Suburbanite and Northern Valley Press, and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. We are going to go into closed session now. Bill, would you please read the, for the record, closed session shouldn't be too long. We'll have to wait outside, and then we'll go back into open session in a few minutes. We'll come get you.
Should I close the door on my way out?
Get online.
No problem.
Thank you.
Now resolved in compliance with NJSA 10.4-12, Mayor and Council are going to close the executive session, discuss the following matters. We have 4 personnel matters, one involving the Borough Clerk's Office, another involving Family Medical Leave Act request in the Police Department, another a request for a direct deposit exemption that we're allowed to give, and I don't know why. But
I'll tell you why.
The fourth personnel matter is involving the DPW. Then we have an attorney-client privilege matter involving acquisition of property, and this will be released to the meeting. At the time the matter is resolved, after this closed executive session, the Mayor and Council will reconvene in the Richard T. Wilson Committee Room to reconvene the work session.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Thought we were gonna talk
All in
about
favor?
Aye.
All right.
Do that
All right,
in
thank you.
We'll do that in open.
Okay,
Hi, Chief. Come on in, everyone. There's seats.
the first item on the agenda is the tree ordinance.
Tree ordinance.
There's some seats in the office if anyone needs.
All right, first on the agenda, thank you, Mayor. Where am I standing? Where do you
Wherever
want?
you want.
You're not, you can sit down for now.
Here on the table here.
Terrific.
Did somebody ask? I
Paul, you can sit down for a second. Are we gonna go right into Mr. Keys?
I'll let somebody
Next
else.
on the agenda.
How do you want to do it?
All right, well, I didn't put the tree ordinance on the agenda. Who did?
Paul wrote a letter back in October, so to try to address, he wanted to address some issues with the tree ordinance, and the council gave me the okay to invite him to a future council.
Okay, Paul, since this is being recorded, I would, and replayed on Channel 77, I would
Excellent.
ask that there may be 1 or 2 residents in the town that don't know who you are.
Sure.
So if you don't mind just mentioning your qualifications, your
Sure,
experience, et
sure,
cetera,
sure,
so
sure.
they know, who you are.
So some of you I know, been before the Board of Adjustment sometimes. Some of you I don't know. So my name is Paul Keys. I live at 44 Cortlandt Place here in Tenafly. Resident 30 years. Operated a landscaping business in town for 38 years, going on 39 next year. I know this is like a passionate subject, trees, trees and the environment, and everybody gets very emotional about it, but I think sometimes, you can't let your passion about something blind practical thinking,
Sure.
okay?
Or the
So-
business trying to take over the common
Max,
sense.
let him
So
do his
let me just go
presentation.
through, because I've done so many presentations before Jeff. I try and go through it quick and succinct, because I don't want to waste your valuable time, okay? So I want you to keep in mind as I talk about this is a conversation about public policy and public safety, okay? That's very important. I'm going to say that a lot tonight. So let's get right. Wait, let me give you my qualifications too, for those who don't know it. BS Environmental Planning from Rutgers University, Master's Environmental Studies from School of Conservation at Montclair State University, landscaping business in town for 39 years, like I said. I've been a professor in the Department of Ornamental Horticulture at Bergen for 30 years, okay? And I'm a former member of the Planning Board, 1987 in Cresskill, a long time ago. Mike Dressler was the mayor. So, let's get right to the ordinance. It's about 10 years old now, right? And I asked when the ordinance kind of came into play, hey, where's the science behind the ordinance? Where's the data to support the purpose statement? And nobody could ever really show that to me. And that becomes very important from a public policy perspective. Now, I deal with tree ordinances, many different towns, I've seen a lot of different ones. But can somebody answer that question?
Depending which specific action you want the data behind.
Well-
Where is the data that supports, okay, specifically in the ordinance, the remediation formula?
Well,
And the purpose
I think to answer that question, normally when an ordinance of this nature is formulated, and this one was formulated years ago, it's formulated with the assistance, if not the direct help of the borough engineer, as well as our tree people, you know, or the people in our DPW. And then it's, when it comes to the elected officials at the same time are listening to the residents. Okay, where trees are concerned, people are concerned about the flood aspect, people are concerned about aesthetics. And I think those two things really drive the elected officials. And the elected officials bring it to our professionals for guidance, such as in this, you know, like today would be Bob Culver, you're an arborist now, correct? And our borough engineer, who is an expert on drainage. And those are, I think, the two driving forces. I can't tell you that any scientific research is done on this, but I will tell you that I have been told over the years that our ordinance is a model ordinance for many towns. And at the same time, I've got people telling me it's too strict and people telling me it's not strict enough. So that's how we arrived at where we are today.
Okay, so again, when I talked about, you know, passions kind of blind you from practical thinking sometimes, that's one of those things, okay? Because when tree ordinances are created, there's always a baseline. We're scientists. There's some measurement out there that says, hey, listen, we have a problem, or this is what we have now before we write the ordinance. Now, I'm going to cut to the chase on the ordinance, okay, because it wasn't kind of really created that way. What happened was, we took it from another town. Now, this happens frequently in municipalities, especially in the Northern Valley and around the state. You know, we pass around ordinances like social diseases. You know, I hate to say that, but we do. Because it's easier to take somebody else's ordinance, like some other town would take ours, whether they know it's good or not, and use it as the basis of their ordinance. It takes a lot less time to take somebody's ordinance than to write it, okay? So how do I know that, okay? I know that because when the ordinance was introduced 10 years ago, it was by Joe DiGiacomo, right? He was the city manager 10 years ago, right? Okay, so,
And by the way, a master gardener.
yeah, okay, regardless, okay? I know a lot of master gardeners.
No, but I wanted to give you a sense that he
I
wasn't a
understand.
novice.
I totally understand. So the ordinance comes into play, right? And it's being passed around. I get a call from Bob Utel. He says, hey, listen, meet me down at the Tenafly Diner.
Bob Utel, by the way, was the director of DPW at that time.
Right. I want you to read
And an
this.
arborist, right?
I believe he was an arborist as well.
Right.
Yes.
I want you to read this. I said, okay, I read it. First question I asked him was, where'd you get it from? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, where'd you get it from? Now, I believe it came from Cedar Grove. Wasn't Joe at Cedar
Yes.
Grove?
Joe lives in
Okay.
Cedar Grove.
So I
He
did the
was-
first major tree application, okay, before the mayor and council, after the ordinance was passed. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Okay? That was June of 2009. And I remember that night.
You've been carrying this grudge ever since then?
No, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not here to cause a problem. I'm here to give you a solution. This is a summary and a solution. You never see me come out of my hole. I'm living in town 30 years. I'm an introvert. I only come out when I really feel strongly that we got a public safety problem. This is very important to me, okay? So that night, I'm arguing with Joe. I remember. And I'm saying, this remediation 2 for 2-inch caliber, this, how do you calculate the benefit to the community on that? How do you do that? How do you calculate, how do you justify? I'm a scientist. I mean, I'm a rational guy. I can be persuaded easily. Show me. And later on, I thought to myself, why am I arguing with Joe? Just city manager. I should be arguing with you guys. Or debating.
Paul, I'm gonna ask, in the interest of time, because you're
I'm
only
moving
the first
along.
item.
I'm moving along.
I would ask that if you have any suggestions, get to them, please.
I'm going to. This is important though,
I understand.
okay?
Did you argue with Bob too?
Am I
With me?
boring anybody
Don't
at this
argue with
point?
me.
Okay?
Paul,
Am
it's
I
not a
boring?
matter of
I just
boring.
write the things.
Am I
and tell me
boring
to
any?
write.
I'm not boring
No, no,
anybody.
we have a full agenda.
So, listen, I wrote a letter 2 months ago. Give me 20 minutes. So, I say to myself, wait a second. I'm working in Cedar Grove doing a variance application, right? And I see the purpose statement. It was exactly the same. Now, I'm going to ask anybody in this room. If you were sick, right? And she was sick with the same thing.
No,
Would you take her medicine? Or would you go to the doctor and get evaluated?
I'll take her medicine.
Well, if she was my wife, I'd probably take her medicine.
Good point. My point is, we just took an ordinance and we stuck it in place. We didn't really do anything to research that. Now, I'm an expert, there's a lot of experts in the room. Paul Cowie is the town arborist. Bob, certainly a peer, okay? There was no data to, so what happens is when you have public policy where you really don't take the time to vet these ordinances, you injure people financially, you injure the real estate market, you put people's lives at risk physically, you injure my emotions personally, okay? But do you understand my point? That we have an ordinance on the books right now that we have no data. Now, all these experts in
From
the,
your point of view,
what?
at least from your point of
Yeah.
view.
Hold on, right,
About public
hold on a
safety.
second.
You're gonna get hurt by a 2-inch caliber tree.
It's a very good point. Now, the biggest expert in the room is the town. It's tree management plan. Okay? Everybody see this? You've seen this, right? Okay.
I
I
So
have
when you-
not seen that
I
document,
have never
actually.
seen that.
So when you go to page 5, 3, this was written by Paul.
We've never seen this. At
It
least
talks
in-
about, the plan is designed to optimize the balance between tree benefits and public safety. Right? That's important. But when you go to page 5, it tells you, in your own words, that you guys never did an inventory and analysis of the existing trees we have now. You relied on satellite data that shows 63% tree coverage from 1999. Okay, that's 20 years old. It was 63% at that time. The Environmental Commission said, yes, let's maintain 63%. But how do you know that that number doesn't injure somebody in the community? And I use that figuratively. Injure real estate values, public safety, infrastructure, the budget, cause injury. Public policy that causes injury in some way, okay? It also talks about that we never did a hazardous assessment. So we don't know how many dangerous trees out there. Now, you know, we've got a couple guys in the room, you're around all the time. We have more dangerous trees out there than we know. Now, you look around and you say, oh, that's clearly a dead tree. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about trees that look perfectly healthy, and I think there are hundreds of them out there that are dangerous. I'm going to show you this. Pass this around. That beech tree in the shadow of that crane there, right? It's been called perfect. Somebody said it was perfectly fine tree. It's 42,000 pounds, 18 feet from a, okay? 18 feet from a house. So, you know, when we create Tree City and we want people to not take down trees, it's a good passion. I spent my life dedicated to planting trees, being involved in the environment. But I think we are at a crisis point right now where public safety is an issue because we did not do our homework before we created the ordinance. And there's a lot of dangerous trees out there. So what does that do? Personally, I think if the wind goes above 25 miles an hour, there should be a text alert that goes out to everybody in the town saying, hey, we built Tree City, but watch out, because there's structures out there that if they were building department regulated, we'd have orange stickers all over town. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about a first responder, 4 guys in a fire truck going up Woodland Park Drive, and a massive oak comes down in a storm and goes through the cab and kills 4 firefighters, or one of his guys responding in an emergency in a storm. I think we're at a point where we have not done our homework, okay?
Paul,
It's clear.
Paul, listen,
Yeah.
you're on Channel 77 now, and I think you need to temper your remarks a little bit, because I'll tell you right now, the limited experience I have in this world, if you put a text alert out like what you suggested, you'd have a panic in the town.
Good, so I've raised awareness here,
Well,
okay?
it's
That
one
was
thing
my
to-
point.
One thing to raise awareness, it's another thing to go a little overboard.
I'm not going overboard, Mayor, I don't wanna go to a funeral.
Well,
And
you know something,
do you
we've
have
had.
any data showing any of this? I
Well-
mean, you're asking us, saying,
No, no,
where
no,
is your data?
I'm not even gonna ask
I
for
mean,
data.
This is
We
becoming,
do have in place that if there's a dangerous tree, and we have arborists to check that out, you're one of many, Paul, but you don't work for the town. If a resident or you or anybody else calls up and says, there's a dangerous tree on Woodland Park Drive, it's inspected by a licensed arborist, and if it's dangerous, either we take it down or a resident gets permission to take it down. Jeff?
Paul, I appreciate what you're doing, and I think one of the things that might be helpful along this line is how does a resident identify a tree such as the one you're passing around the picture? Because I had one, I saw the signs because I've looked at trees enough, but I think to the average person, they would not have known this tree was totally hollow inside, a long thatcher, so we took it down and it was just like that one. But how, I think part of it would be if we can educate residents, how do they know if
Good
they have a
point.
sick tree?
Good point.
And
So,
we can educate them.
I think the question was raised, hey, there's a difference here between trees that are in public parks, in public rights of way, okay, that the town is responsible for, and trees on private property. And somebody said, well, how are you gonna regulate that? How are you gonna fix that? Education is the way. And sometimes, you know, with our ordinances, don't cut trees, don't cut trees, don't cut trees, we're giving out false narrative without justification to say people give like a false sense of security in their yards. You understand? Yes, we wanna be Tree City, but we don't wanna be dangerous Tree City. And we have to start thinking from a planner's perspective down the road. Okay? That's how we have to think. So generations coming next to us, you know, 10, 15, 25 years, enjoy the same benefit of this beautiful tree-lined community that we live in.
But is there a checklist of things that, not only for on private property, but if I'm walking along Woodland Park Drive and I see in the right of way certain things about tree, is there something that we can disseminate that would let people know, give a call to,
Well,
Public
you know, you
works
have a
is on-
newsletter, you have a way of communicating people. You
I know
could do a
how
tree
we can do
page.
it, I'm talking
How would I
about
do it? Well, I'm an educator.
what is
So-
the actual things to look for?
Okay. I don't think that's, I want to answer your question, but I don't want to waste time, okay?
Paul,
I-
can I ask you a question when
Sure,
you're done with that?
sure.
Go ahead.
But I think what's really important, okay, to understand is that I truly believe that because we have not kept up on the public trees, I know of so many myself. Bob knows a few. I mean, I put in a tree removal permit on Kent Road to have a dead, dangerous tree removed 10 years ago. It was removed 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. So we are way behind the curve, and we don't have, you know, even though the report spells out how we're gonna do it, which was really well done by Paul. He's your guy to answer your questions. I'm not, okay? But I think in that report, it kind of spells out how we do it. But what concerns me is, number one, the fact that it took 10 years. I'm doing this all the time and get no response. We don't have the manpower in our tree resources to do this. I mean, I saw the DPW crew on numerous occasions this year, 2-man crew, 2 trucks, 1 guy in the bucket, 1 guy operating the chipper. That is a no-no on an OSHA standard. That is so dangerous. And it tells me that we're not paying attention here to these public trees. I think if it wasn't for line clearing by the utilities, we'd be in worse trouble. And if it wasn't for Hurricane Sandy and the snowstorm, which took 40,000 cubic yards of material out of this town, we'd be in big trouble. But he's the guy to answer that question.
Mark and
So,
then-
Paul, what do you propose?
Okay, this is easy. This is the
Wait,
proposal,
before-
because
before
they
we-
never come in
Before
without,
we get into the whole proposal,
Yeah.
I wanna just highlight a section for you to make sure that you've reviewed it.
Yeah.
We do have a section right now, 26(1.12, and this is the allowance of all hazardous tree removal. So if the borough, the DPW, an individual resident determines the tree is unhealthy or hazardous, they have permission under the statute to take it down.
I understand that.
An emergency, so how do,
I
what I was gonna say
understand
is
that.
part of the plan.
This tree was part of a tree permit, okay?
Mhm.
That tree was deemed safe,
But by who? By our town?
yes,
Let me stay.
Okay.
okay? That could be a very costly mistake.
So
You
there's-
understand what I'm saying? So let me answer that.
How do you get teeth into that then?
So, as far as the ordinance, it's easy to go like this and repackage it. Mark, I know you have a question.
Question is, what are you asking
Yeah.
for? What do you want?
No,
What do I
no,
want?
That's why now.
Very easy answer. Change the tree ordinance.
So it's
Okay.
to reflect what? What are you
What?
suggesting?
I'm not gonna get into that tonight with the details. You have the experts in the room who know how to change this ordinance to make it fair, okay? Those are the
Fair
guys.
to whom?
What's that?
Wait, let me
Fair
st-
to whom?
Max,
I'm trying to
Max, let me
figure out
finish
who's
my-
the fair party, who's the one that's injured. And we understand
That's
safety. You brought up real estate. We don't wanna make a McMansion town out of it. So fair to whom?
Fair to the homeowner, okay? When you have an ordinance that imposes unfair trees and an unfair remediation calculation.
What makes it unfair?
There's no science behind it.
Well, that's
make
what
it
you
Well,
say.
you know,
But
rather
I don't
than
understand.
get
I mean,
into.
listen, I
well,
said
excuse
this
me.
10 years ago.
Rather than get into a dispute,
That's what I'm saying.
I think what would be helpful, if you wanna recommend some changes to the ordinance,
Right,
put them in writing, and we can discuss them at a council meeting. You know, the normal process would be to share it with our director of DPW and our tree arborist, and perhaps our engineer, to get a sense of
excellent.
how they feel about it. You know, whether you're an expert, which you are, or just a resident. If somebody has a suggestion, we take it seriously. And, you know, I believe you're coming from a good place. However, I'm not looking to create hysteria here.
Okay,
So I would urge you to put something in writing, and you'll get it will get a fair hearing.
listen, this is my recommendation, okay? I think out the box sometimes, okay? That's what I do. I think, personally, these two guys, and even some of these other tree experts that are in the room consulting on this, should be the ones who go through that ordinance. They have the most experience, okay? And the guys from the Parks Department to do that, okay? Now, you say, how does it injure? One of the problems, you know, we talk about feedback from the residents, right? Some of the feedback that I get on the ordinance is extortion. Why are they making me pay a bond? What's the point?
So let me ask you a question,
Okay?
Paul.
You understand what
Paul,
I'm saying?
Paul, let me ask you a question.
Yes, you have, that's
Max,
personal
hold on a
experience.
second. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay? Because most people that want to take down trees today
Mhm.
are interested in expanding their homes or building a new home.
Right.
Okay? Now, you mentioned that, I believe it was 10 years ago, we had a 63% tree coverage in the community.
Right.
I know there's no scientific data behind it, but you're an expert. Would you say in the last 10 years that number has gone up or gone down?
No, I know for a fact that it's gone down.
Okay, so we're losing trees. I get the sense.
Good point.
I get the sense that that doesn't just concern you all that much. You feel that in fact, you've actually said to me we have too many trees in town.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Now we have to balance that with the fact that from an aesthetic point of view, there is a significant number of people. I'm not going to say majority because I haven't taken a scientific poll that believe that they want trees in this community.
Right.
And that when I drive down the street and there's 2 or 3 McMansions or 2 new, I don't want to use that term, 2 or 3 new homes, the sense you get is they're treeless, or they're certainly the land is slightly barren compared to older homes with trees, some of which you may feel are unsafe. Some of them may be unsafe.
Okay.
And I think one of the benefits of your discussion tonight is it may give residents, especially those in older homes with mature trees, that they ought to have their trees looked at. And they should be looked at not by a tree company, but by arborists, because tree companies make their money on cutting down trees. Arborists make their money by doing the right thing. And I believe that's what you're trying to do. But, that's, I just feel that, you know, every ordinance, whether it be a tree ordinance or anybody else, any other ordinance, impacts some residents positively and some residents negatively. It's very difficult to come up with an ordinance that makes everybody happy. So, with that in mind.
Let me speak to that. So 63% in 1999, right? Recent Rutgers study, right, Paul, shows well, you may not have looked at it, but 2000 and, let's see, it was in 2012, Rutgers did a municipal snapshot. Now, we're talking about satellite data. We're not talking about tree inventories. They put us at 56%. But in your own report, that the USDA, for optimal safety, right? Remember, you got to thin out the forest to keep it healthy. In an urban environment, says in the report here that 40% is optimal for public safety and to keep the forest healthy. We're at 55%, and that's a satellite data.
The problem with those numbers are, we've got hundreds of acres of woods, okay?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
Yeah, and if you take that into account, that doesn't leave a heck of a lot of trees in
the
residential neighborhoods. I lived
It's
in.
your own numbers,
I
it's
lived
not
in,
mine.
I lived in Teaneck, okay, and my street growing up, more years ago than I care to admit, had mature trees up and down the street, between the street and the sidewalk, which is not a healthy place for trees. I drive down that street today and there's no trees. They're all gone. And I will tell you this, the neighborhood doesn't look half as good as it used to look.
Storms.
It may be safer, okay, and we can't ignore safety. Lauren?
I have a question for you since you're here.
Sure.
We have a few properties in town that have come before Board of Adjustments or Council or to the Buildings Department, where new properties were cleared and new plantings are coming in, but significant soil erosion is occurring on neighboring properties. And these older trees that sucked up a significant amount, from what I understand, I'm not an expert, but have sucked up a significant amount of rainwater, are no longer there doing that job.
Okay, so that's
what-
kind
what
that's
advice
kind of
do
a
you have
that's
for
kind of
that?
a myth that trees suck up water. You get a year like this year. You have 2000. I think we're the 4th wettest year on record. Trees are like people. They only drink water when they're thirsty. The problem with the ordinance and soil erosion is not with the trees being taken down. It's what's put back in. It's another defect in the ordinance, because people do this, and I didn't figure this out. Actually, somebody else in the building department figured this out. It's that evergreen 2-for-1 thing that goes in. So people put these lines on their
Cypress.
property, and it's sort of like that old game where the ball drops in and it goes like this, you know, line to line to line, the old arcade game. And you see that's the result of a really bad part provision of the ordinance and the recalculation formula and remediation. Again, it's another example of why we're having flash flooding. That 2012 report by Rutgers also studied impervious coverage. Impervious coverage in Tenafly is 10%, including roofs, streets, everything. 90% is green. And we have flooding problems. That kind of says to me that maybe our flooding problems are from pervious surfaces, not impervious. Look, we take away all the leaves every year. We send 25,000 cubic yards of topsoil out of our borough every single year.
Okay,
Okay?
we had, and I think that we should put an end to this one. We had an example of 53 Knickerbocker, where we had 48 huge trees cut, and basically is a mud place. It is a disaster. If you walk around there, it's absolutely a place that you don't want to even step the foot of. Used to be probably the most beautiful property, and when they cut the trees, it became simple a disaster area. So what we need to do is make sure that that doesn't happen, and they cannot take all those trees down and create.
Excellent point, and let me talk to that.
And that's what we did.
That's
I'm
an
gonna
excellent
ask you to
point.
sum everything up,
I am
Paul.
gonna sum
Yeah.
everything, give me 5 minutes, but I wanna answer that point, because that's a really good point. Because Englewood just put an ordinance in place. They ripped theirs off from Paramus. I figured that one out already. That was easy, because the new borough administrator's from Paramus. Nice guy, Ken, right? So he ripped that one off from Paramus. Now, Paramus is emerging farmland.
All right, can we get to the
Right.
point?
I'm gonna get to the point. Franz Volsi, the city engineer, came to me and said, how do I solve that? And I said to him, it's very easy.
Solve what? I'm sorry.
On the clear cutting,
Yeah,
okay? Those things should be reviewed by Mazer, okay? and Paul Cowie and recommendations for new tree planting to go in. Many times when I am for clear cutting, and I'll tell you why. The reason being is that if the remediation is done correctly, in 20, 25 years, you have nice trees. If it's not done, if it's prevented where you say, I don't want to take down that tree, I don't want to take down that tree, what happens is you have major changes in grade. Those trees go into decline over time. So if it was me, I'd rather have somebody clear cut a property, have a managed remediation program put in where the trees are going to grow in the future than a homeowner that ends up with a dead oak behind his trees in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years that goes into decline from grade change and soil change.
Right,
It's
so
a
you'll be
very
glad-
good point.
You'll be glad to know that I changed the property tree ordinance last year, basically not allowing any more clear cutting when you bring up a new home.
Well, of course,
And-
that's not true.
and it's-
That's not true.
Yes,
You,
it is.
you can't build a home unless you.
No, and that remedy has to be taken care of.
Well, that,
If
right.
that's,
Right, it's a
so
very
we put
good
it,
point.
so we don't have that clear cutting without a remedy anymore in
There's
place.
a
That's what we
remedy
want,
of
and that's
53 Knickerbocker as
overseen
well.
by
We
the
don't have it.
qualified people
We
who
don't
know
have
how
that.
to do it, yeah.
So while we
Sorry.
have your expertise,
Oh.
I know you're
What?
getting ready to
You're
wrap
next,
up.
Bill.
I'm wrapping up. I know you're
Yes.
tired of it
No, no,
already,
no,
I
no,
know,
no.
this
I'm
is
not-
why I don't
no.
come out.
Paul, my
Did you wanna say
question, in the remediation, should we be looking at, native versus non-native trees?
Another
Because-
good point, you know, we have this thing where you can't cut down a tree on the property line. We have a real big problem with invasives right now, and invasives are mostly on the property line, mulberry things. You know why? Because the bird eats the mulberry
That's what
seed,
he's
goes,
getting
sits on the
from,
fence, takes a poop, he's got a fertilized seed. Then you got a 6-inch thing that you gotta go to your neighbor and write a letter for. I mean, that's ridiculous. Invasives are not even considered in the ordinance. That's another really good point.
All right, I want to, last comment, because
Well, this is
we
gonna,
have to move on.
Yeah.
yeah, so my comment is, my
That's why I came to a
suggestion
work
is,
session.
I think Paul and our tree arborist Paul and, you know, our head of
And Bob.
DPW and our DPW committee should take this and make a meeting and take a look at the ordinance and come
Well,
back to
what
council.
really-
That's
what-
what I said.
I'm not gonna do a lot of work on this. I'll consult on it, I'll donate my time. Listen, I'm very generous. You needed a football court, I designed it. You need a nature center, I designed it, even though we didn't get it. I'm a great lieutenant, but I don't have a lot of time to do this. I will talk with Paul and I will talk with Bob and the guys in the Parks Department who really know where the problems are in this town. Because they drive the streets all day, okay? Bob, you had a question, I don't wanna.
No, it was not a question.
Okay?
Well, I'm going to thank you very much, Paul, but I got to remind you, because you're in the private sector, this is the public sector now, and the movement for change really starts at this table. I would only wish that our professionals had the time. They have the inclination. I wish they had the time to sit down and do this stuff. They only do it when we ask them to do it, not because they're not interested, because they just don't have the time. I'm trying to be realistic. I'd like to have positive change in this community, but I also know how it comes about. So what you've done today has been very helpful for the 7 of us, okay? I urge you to put something in writing with some suggestions as how you would go about changing the ordinance, because if you wait for our professionals to
No.
have the time to do the job you
Listen.
want them to do, it'll be a while. And it's
Listen.
no reflection on our professionals.
Listen, the recommendations are your own. They're in this report. It says specifically, the borough was unable to complete a long-planned inventory and assessment of its public tree resources due to insufficient funding. That's nonsense. Pay the man to do the job that we need to create the ordinance.
Have you asked this man how much spare time he has during working hours? Because it's more than funding. If
Well,
he
I mean,
gets paid to work 8
Don't we have
hours a day.
70,000 in the tree budget right now?
Yeah, it's not a matter of funding, it's a matter of time. If he's gonna spend 20 or 50 hours on this, it's gonna take away from the other jobs that he does, such as, taking down unsafe trees.
He doesn't take down unsafe trees. He's an urban
Yeah,
arborist.
Can I clarify
Please.
for a second? So my name is Paul Cowie, my firm is Paul Cowie and Associates. We're consulting arborists, and Tenafly has hired us over the past 15 years to write those 5-year community
3
forestry
of them.
management plans that are submitted and approved by the state of New Jersey to give you qualified status under the New Jersey Shade Tree and Community Forestry Assistance Act.
When is the last time you worked for Tenafly?
5 years ago, and we're under contract actually right now to do the next 5-year plan, and that's my reason for being here, was
Okay.
this sounded like a good opportunity to get some information to put into the plan.
Okay, well, I would urge you maybe to find some time, either go through our DPW director or our borough administrator to sit down with a couple, not 7 of us, a couple of us, to talk about what you think needs to be done next. Maybe
Yeah,
he
and that's
can,
the
he
plan.
can,
We'll be sitting down with Bob to kind
Okay.
of gather information.
Do
We
you
have
do
a
what's in your
DPW
own
commission
report.
that can
It's
work with
simple,
it.
you don't need me. You do what's in your own report.
well,
And
thank you.
especially when it comes to public safety. I don't want to see a municipal official or somebody hurt by a tree that comes down. I've
Okay,
seen
Paul.
it.
Thank you.
Here, come on, don't push me out, I take time now.
Well, I understand, but you've had over a half hour. We have a very full agenda.
Okay, and
And
as
I'm not
far as,
crazy about
and as
being
far as the
threatened with
pace of
dangerous
government,
trees.
I was on the planning board. I hate when people say to me, oh, the pace of government slows down. I hate to hear that as a taxpayer, okay? You may think it, you may want it, it may be a reality, but don't say it. Because when somebody gets killed from a tree, the pace of government doesn't mean anything to me. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Don't forget your glasses.
Thank you.
Paul, thank you for coming out as well.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thank you, Paul.
And listen, I'm a great lieutenant. If you need something, you call on me. But
Well-
you have the pros to take care of this.
I would say that over the years, Paul has donated his time, his services, and his expertise on numerous occasions, and for that, we're greatly appreciative. And I appreciate, I don't mean to be,
Right. Now
it's
I'll
just
go
that
back
we're-
into my hole, okay, where you won't see me until this doesn't get done, okay? Have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you, Paul.
Good night, everyone.
So,
Thank you. I was not
CPW
clear in my mind
committee
as
will make
exactly
a
who you
Yeah.
were,
logical,
so just told us.
logical time in my meeting with each other with that.
You want, you have
No,
to
it was changed,
identify
I
what
sent you
the
an
actual
invite, so we're not
problem
doing it
is.
tomorrow.
No, be Tuesday.
Talk about
Next
that.
week.
and come up
Tuesday, I
with-
sent you an email.
Well,
Yeah,
pick 3
it's-
problems,
Next week.
see where you go.
Now,
DPW committee, that's it.
Lisette,
Still haven't eaten the candy cane.
please, Lisette, explain, the Northern Valley Greenway is on our agenda.
Yeah.
Explain where we are, what we're doing on that tonight.
I was asked to allow a certain resident, Mr. Fred Silver, who wanted to speak to the mayor and council about it.
Okay, who asked you?
Councilman back.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so, Fred?
I have to clarify,
Um,
Fred is not here on behalf of the Northern Valley Greenway. The Northern Valley Greenway has asked me to make that clear.
Yes, no,
Okay.
well,
Okay, I understand.
Fred, I had a couple of discussions with Fred prior to tonight, and I told him that one of his biggest challenges is getting people, and I don't mean just the 7 of us, but people in general, to understand who he is, who he represents, if anybody besides himself, and what his goals are. And I think if you can accomplish that in 4 minutes, no,
4 minutes.
in a short period of time, you'll be fine.
Yes, Fred Silver, 128 Westervelt Avenue, graduate of Classman in town for my whole life. I sent you guys, or sent out a PowerPoint deck with information about what we envision here as far as setting up a committee. This is a committee, a planning committee, to take advantage of the Greenway. I am not the Greenway, Andrew McKesh here is, and he's the chair of that, and there's an organization. But the Greenway is the conversion of the line to a recreational open space, which gives us an opportunity to change Tenafly. This is a real transformative moment. And I want everybody to understand that in the sense that where in the past you've had a planning committee, may have failed, nothing was gonna happen. Now you're gonna have open space through the center of town. This is really, when I hear everybody talking about revitalization, we talk about traffic, we talk about what's happening to Tenafly to make it more livable. Well, active communities make it more livable, more people coming out and enjoying the town. And I think the Greenway is going to do that. It's going to give us open space up and down a corridor. And Andrew has some great plans as far as the width of it and different activities. But the point of the committee is to take this new asset that hopefully will arrive. Again, until it's closed, we don't know. and help it breathe life into the community in the residential part and in the downtown. The downtown, you guys, I mean, really, we haven't had access to this space forever, since 150 years. So now it's coming available. You're going to have recreation in the center of town. How do we tie that into the community? How do we make this an economic engine and Tenafly the anchor? As I spoke to Andrew today, you guys, we're in a great position here as the gateway to the Northern Valley, and I mean that sincerely. I've been biking for my whole life, and a lot of people come to go riding, and they come and they meet in Tenafly because this is the first town, really. You have all the surrounding towns that are a little more dense, and we go up Piermont Road, and you go into all the towns right up the following or shadowing the line. So with the addition of the Tappan Zee Bridge, there's going to be viewing decks on that, and you have a lot of other things along the line. So we want Tenafly to become an anchor, an economic anchor for this, the gateway to the Northern Valley. So not only is this line going to breathe life into Tenafly, we're going to be the draw, hopefully. So you're bringing people with wallets, okay? And that's what it is. A bike guy comes, he's going to shop, or if I come down with a dog walking and my kids or whatever, my grandkids, we have money to spend and we're looking for activities. So the planning committee is to look at this like this is a waterfront. This is our asset. How do we, a carnival type atmosphere? I'm not bringing a carnival in, but really, whatever, once we have pedestrians, we have activity, how do we take advantage of that, and how do the stores get involved? I think, and that's it. Fred.
One second now.
About
So,
4 minutes left.
just for everybody's edification beyond the 7 of us, since this is, I hope the town views this. The Northern Valley Greenway is an independent nonprofit organization. They are connected through the town only because the Northern Valley Greenway, as proposed, will run right through the center of town. So obviously, it's in our interest, the municipality, to make sure that we understand what they're proposing, and what they're proposing fits in our mind to our community. And the connection between the Northern Valley Greenway, which, like I said, is a nonprofit, is we have now 2 liaisons, Councilman Park and Councilwoman Dayton. They are our liaisons. They attend the meetings, and they bring back to us what's going on and take to the Greenway how we think about it. So basically, that group, the Northern Valley Greenway, is separate from the municipality, which it has to be because they're going through 7 municipalities. And each one of those municipalities, I assume, has I know they have representatives, okay, with the Greenway, people that sit on that committee, so that it's all tied in that way. To this point, no funding, no taxpayer dollars from Tenafly are going into this, and the hope is, and correct me by saying yes or no, Andrew, the hope is that taxpayer dollars from the municipality will not go into this. Okay, we hope to raise money funding, and maybe the county gets involved. So, and it's a long process, a long, complicated process. So now what I think we have a basic understanding of what Fred is saying, that he wants to form a committee to help tie in this Greenway with the community. At the same time, he's not representing the Greenway. So the question becomes, if you could explain exactly how you're going to position this committee, how you see in your mind this committee will be formed, and what the mission will be.
Okay, the mission is all in the paperwork that I handed out to you guys, but essentially if you have a homegrown committee, we have connections into this, trails if you will, that are going to go into the Greenway. So those trails have to be at specific points and junctions to create the activity. So for example, if you look at Dean Park to the south side of town here, you have several streets here. You have Leonard Street, you have near Walnut Park, you have the west side, the east side of town coming down. So what you're trying to do is create the trail system so that people feel this is easy, accessible to walk the dog, to take the kids, and then of course you're walking, so where are you going? You're gonna go to the center of town. So we wanna make sure that if we're attracting, that the messaging is correct, that the branding is correct. So if Lauren is speaking to a prospective retailer who wants to come here, what's doing in Tenafly? It's not just the residents. We have peak days, Saturdays, Sundays are gonna be very, gonna be heavy days for this town. There's gonna be people coming. There's an economic advantage to having this line here, and we need to make sure that the residents know, the merchants know, and hopefully, at that point, we're gonna be able to attract new retailers here and keep our the bike shops thriving, because in the digital age here, we're a service. This is actually a convenience shopping district if you look at the master plan. So the retailers that are gonna be here are gonna provide services to the residents. We're not gonna find bookstores anymore. We're not gonna find certain types of retail, you all know that. So what I'm trying to do is form this committee so that we can speak to all these stakeholders and make sure that this line is successful.
So Fred, question,
Yes.
what, if any, connection do you have with the Greenway and with the Chamber of Commerce? I mean,
Good question.
if this committee makes sense
Yep.
and is going to flourish, the odds are, I would visualize a similar committee in almost every town.
That is correct.
Okay, so what is your connection, and Andrew, at some point, I'm gonna ask you for your opinion, but I want Fred to get a little further along.
Well,
What is the connection with the Greenway, if any?
right.
And what is the connection with the Chamber of Commerce? Because I understand, you look at this Greenway as being an economic engine
That is correct.
for our community, and rightfully so. If it attracts a couple of hundred people, and 9W has thousands of bike riders on a Saturday and Sunday.
That's right.
So if we attract a couple of hundred people,
That's
which I think is a
Minimum.
very low estimate,
Yeah.
I think it does behoove us to have plans for this, so.
Okay,
You'll be next.
so the
next, okay?
Greenway and Andrew could clarify this, the Greenway is acquisition, construction, and then probably becomes maintenance at some point after that. Okay, so, but again, as you pointed out, there's 7 towns involved in this, and a lot of other activity, there's a lot going on. So we're worried about Tenafly, right? And the gateway, what are we gonna do with this new asset that's coming to town? And that's basically,
No, but I want you, what's the connection with the Greenway? How do you connect your committee with the Greenway committee, with the people that are building
Well, we're
the Greenway,
speaking to them.
and with the chamber?
well, the chamber is part of the conversation. I don't know where the chamber is right now. I know that there was a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce who tried to speak to the people. It was very poor attendance, which kind of started this, the ball rolling here. I think the people came, there was maybe 5 people, and some of them were the committee members. So clearly the merchants in town don't know what's happening, or they don't see the value in it, and that's what we're trying to figure out.
Okay, Max,
Okay, so the reason I
Excellent.
asked Lizette to put this in, because I think that right now, we have an opportunity and a duty to do something knowing that the Greenway is coming. As a municipality, I think that we should set up a larger group, which includes the municipality, which is basically council. It includes third-party people, the town people, and the Greenway people that are specifically building. And those people should be together, coordinating the actions that can be taken by both the council, the town, and people, and the Greenway together into one cohesive plan that will say, this is what we're gonna do when we grow up. And I really don't care if the other municipalities do that or not, it's their business, but we have an opportunity to be the gateway to that, and we should be able to see how we're gonna be able to receive customers that are coming here, where are they gonna be able to park, where are they gonna be able to shop, what are gonna be the facilities for them to basically use over here when they need to go to the bathroom. All that has to be planned by the city. That's not a Greenway. The Greenway is just the roadway. We need to understand the adjacent facilities. And that's why I brought this here. I talked to Fred, I talked to everybody. This is bigger than the Greenway. It has to be a community-wide solution.
well, yeah, but I think the Greenway may have some of these things already in their mind.
It might be, but let
Mark
me
and
just
then
finish,
Lauren.
because you said there might be, but we are the ones that can implement them.
I
It's
agree.
not them. It's up to us to implement them.
Well, at one point, it becomes, where and how does the municipality get involved? One of the things I liked about this concept from the start was it wasn't going to cost us any money to build the Greenway.
Exactly.
But, if somebody puts something wonderful in our town at no cost, only a fool would think that, it doesn't, that it's not gonna have some impact on us.
Yeah, we need to get ready.
I agree.
And that's why we need.
Mark and then
So,
Lauren.
so Fred,
Yes.
Thank you for coming in tonight, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I was a little confused by the presentation, because when I initially read it,
Mhm.
I said to myself, well, what about Andrew and his people, and is this not in conflict?
Mhm.
But you've clarified it very well tonight, and basically you're saying Andrew and his team are they're heading up the whole project through the 6 or 7 towns, and yours is what happens in our specific town.
Yeah.
So do you see, I'm gonna have the same question for Andrew, so you don't see yourself involved with CSX or the DOT or any of that?
No, we're
So-
complementary to that, we don't duplicate the efforts.
So, you know, and Andrew also, so do you, both of you see any conflict in what the two of you are doing? Will you be able to work together somehow as he enlarges or looks to enlarge
You know what,
it?
Mark? I would rather wait till Fred is done and then
Okay.
because I don't wanna have a dialogue, I don't wanna
Yeah, I'm
have
not looking for
an
a
argument
dialogue,
between
just,
the two of them.
Yeah.
You'll have your time.
okay.
Miss Lauren,
I know what's going on.
Mrs. Lauren.
So, you know, you and I have spoken,
Yes.
Fred, and I agree, Tenafly needs to be the anchor for this project, absolutely. This is where people should come and park and use our town and get a cup of coffee and have lunch after their ride. So, my question for you, and one of the things I see very important for this, planning committee is fundraising and sponsorship, finance. If this committee is able to offer things like bike racks, which, you know, you have pricing in your presentation, and, you know, water fountains or small things, you know, picnic tables along the way, things that would be contributory to
Correct.
the larger space around the rails to trails.
That's correct.
That would be wonderful, and
That's
I think,
exactly
you
right.
know, and it takes, we don't have to put it in our municipal budget, it would be a wonderful effort by the community to add to this project, things along that nature, and you can go bigger, I'm just thinking small things right now.
Think small.
But, you know, I think one of the wonderful things that you should be able, or hope to be able to do here is get some, funding, of course, from community or sponsors that wanna be part of it.
Yeah,
So-
I haven't gone into that, but yeah, I mean, if we're
Right.
talking about bike racks, it's a very simple, you brought it up, let's talk about that. So we have 2 bike shops, so we should be helpful to them. Can we put the bike rack here? Speak to those restaurants that want them. And change the mentality of the town from we're just here to we're supporting this, we are the gateway. And the
Yeah.
chamber, something needs to happen, so we'll be talking to them, but, you know, at the end of the day, Andrew's doing his thing, he has ideas, he's planning the infrastructure, and we're gonna work around, and with the picnic tables and the idea, yeah, exactly, what's gonna happen to Tenafly? And and we need years to do this.
The last question I have
Sure.
for you is, how do you envision this committee being formed?
You mean the people on it?
Would you want the municipality to form it, or would you you know, I mean, the Northern Valley Greenway started out in Rotary, okay? The Rotary obviously is a nonprofit, and they started out, the concept was, with the name of Rotary behind it, it would open doors, which it has. I mean, it's not easy to get into CSX, it's not easy to deal with the DOT, as you know that, and Rotary was at the very beginning.
Mhm.
But now, with this committee,
Mhm.
as what Max said, and I don't see a problem with it,
Mhm.
the municipality can take the lead in putting this committee together,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, I'd like your input as to what you feel the makeup of the committee would be. I'm not saying we're gonna follow it 100%, but, you know, the one thing I know you do have is expertise when it comes to the biking community and the pluses and the minuses, what the biking community would appreciate, what they need,
Correct.
you know, you know, in order to to maximize the benefit of this project, we want to, you know, do the right thing for the biking community. And of course, the Northern Valley Greenway will also have input. You know, I would envision this committee starting with the representatives of the mayor and council,
Yeah.
representatives of the Greenway,
Yeah.
and representatives of the biking community,
Mhm.
and the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're right, you know, I don't mean to badmouth the chamber. The chamber does not have a strong representation of the business community, unfortunately. It's not Christine's fault, it's not nobody's fault, it's been like that
It's what's happened.
forever.
It's what happened.
If we can't get them involved, they'll be latecomers. They'll come when they see the benefits.
Correct,
And,
absolutely.
you know, and this is gonna benefit every business on West Railroad, every business on Washington, you know.
Exactly.
No
Every
business can
downtown.
succeed without traffic, and this is
Yeah.
gonna create traffic.
Exactly, it
It-
starts downtown.
And
It
if you don't
starts
believe
downtown.
me, just go up on 9W on a Saturday or Sunday, especially if the weather is decent, and you'll see what I mean by traffic. Jeff?
First of all, Fred, thank you.
You're welcome.
So mine's not really a question for you, it's for our sort of administrator, maybe finance related. A logistical question. So if it becomes more of a mayor and council borough-oriented committee as opposed to simply a
Mhm.
private,
Mhm.
not-for-profit, does that change the kind of funds that may be able to come into this and how that also plays into the use of public lands?
Okay, I don't know a lot of those answers, but I mean.
We would have to create a dedicated trust fund, a writer, have that approved by the state, so that way any funds that come in are deposited to that
Used for that
account
purpose.
and that account, and it would outline what the purpose is, so any expenditures have to follow the purpose that created.
But first of all, one of the things that really appealed to me about this Northern Valley Greenway was they didn't come to the municipality and ask for funds.
Yeah.
Now,
Right,
look,
but I mean, you were proposing
If
a
we-
committee with
well,
representatives.
hold on, let
I'm
me
not,
just-
I'm not proposing anything,
You were suggesting.
I'm asking how we're gonna go about this, and I don't believe at this point we should be worried about funding it, unless we decide, and I don't wanna ruffle any feathers, let's say for argument's sake, we decide we wanna put a park which caters to this Northern Valley Greenway where the ex-swim club was.
Yeah.
Well, that's our land, would be our park, and we would have to build it ourselves.
Fund it.
With either our own funding, open space funding, or money from the county, wherever we got it. I don't wanna put the cart before the horse and suggest that we should open up a trust fund tomorrow and start taking donations. Cause on top of everything else, our residents and our businesses are beaten to death with worthy causes. I'm not prepared to do that until the Northern Valley Greenway is more than a distant vision. And,
Yes.
you know, with all due respect, that's what it is right now.
That's right.
And
Mayor,
It's a
they will-
plan.
They
It's a
will tell
plan.
you.
Mayor, the only reason I ask this is, if this is gonna get launched, it has to get launched the right way with
Correct.
all of these issues at least in our mind. I'm not saying that we need to start fundraising tomorrow, but if we are already having questions about bike racks and costs and all that, it's all interrelated.
Right.
And I didn't want that to just 6 months from now, we get this up and running and somebody says, oh yeah, by the way.
Let me just answer a couple of those. There's fundraising, no, I think the number one fundraising is really for the Greenway. They need to raise funds now for yes, give him money. I mean, let's get this to market. It's gonna take years to get this thing to fruition, but we need to plan to it. You know, if we're talking to swim club, we're talking about a trail at that, so the people can take a bike and go to the high school. What is that gonna look like? And how will, once it goes to the high school, are we going to the other parks? So this should have a little bit of legs on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying when all these trails or exits off of the Greenway, say there's one at the swim club, that's towards the high school. Okay, so you're gonna say it's gotta go to the high school. From the high school, does it just stop? Or does it move on to other, what is our plan with that? And that's where I'm coming from.
Well,
And,
you know, you said something very interesting. 6 months from today, I can tell you, without fear of being wrong, that 6 months from today, there's not gonna be that much difference. They may be a little further along, okay? But even, and Andrew, you're gonna speak next, okay? I think at some point in time, eventually, assume that the biggest problem is the acquisition. Once the acquisition is made, then the next 800-pound gorilla is the site plan, the plan of the, and only then and only then, do we have to start worrying about the infrastructure of our community.
Mhm.
And I would guess that that's at least a year away. You know,
At least.
the acquisition is, maybe you can speak on that in a second, but even if we purchase the land tomorrow, creating the site plan, getting a sense of what it's gonna look like, so that we can reasonably decide, well, you know, we can connect it with Dean Park,
Correct.
we can connect it with Walnut Park, we connect it with the swim club, we connect it with whatever. Only then does it make sense to start making these plans. And, you know, once we decide that, we can start worrying about bike racks and picnic tables.
Correct.
So let's not put too many carts before the horse. I think Fred's, what do you call it? What'd you
Deck.
do?
Presentation.
His
speech,
presentation, thank you.
Whatever you
is-
call
is-
it,
is-
whatever your
is-
name is.
Thanks, Fred.
is very helpful, because, you know, I think it needs to be on all of our radar screens. We should all be here when the finished project is done, because it's gonna be probably the greatest thing for our downtown in a long time.
So can we set up a committee?
Well, I wanna hear from Andrew first,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay. Thank you. So,
And for the record, Andrew
Sorry.
is what's your title, official title?
okay, Andrew McAsh, 50 Sherwood Road. I am the team lead for the Northern Valley Greenway Interlocal Municipal Project and Rotarian Service Project, both of them. So I'm gonna first qualify that even though I live in Tenafly, a lot of what I'm about to say is going to be as the team lead for a multi-town initiative. So I'm gonna try to raise it to that level, even though you guys are talking Tenafly, but I think it will make sense why I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. The Greenway, you're absolutely right, it's focusing on acquisition, most of which unfortunately is gonna be negotiations, confidential, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. Design, build, construction, fundraising, going after federal funds, all that stuff, it is a long process. What Fred has proposed is a set of activities that I do think is a great idea. It is clearly outside the day-to-day activities of the Northern Valley Greenway Committee. And it's something that I think it would enhance everybody's ability to implement an overall community asset going forward. Because it's not just what's within the boundaries of the right-of-way, that's the railroad, it's how the community gonna benefit from it, which is outside those, what we call the ROW right-of-way. And so I applaud Tenafly for thinking of it, of planning for it. Yes, I think that it's gotta be, each town needs to focus on this. If this works, I would personally, I'm not gonna say Greenway because it's really me personally, would love to duplicate this in the other towns. And yes, we have a committee with representatives and liaisons from each town, so you guys would be the model that you would very much like to benchmark and copy, shamelessly steal into the other towns. As far as the timing is concerned, yes, as far as actual implementation, Mayor, you're absolutely right. It's probably a number of years away. However, as Fred said in his presentation, he wants to do some benchmarking, find best practices, research, that because his resource pool is probably even thinner than my non-existing resource pool, it's gonna take time. And you may actually find along the way that there'll be some low-hanging fruit that you can implement even without the Greenway being there. I'm not sure exactly what that's gonna be, but there could be new things that you develop as a result of all this that Tenafly could benefit from day one, even without the Greenway.
So let me say this, I want your opinion, and I'll ask Fred for his opinion. I believe it's premature to form this committee. I don't believe that it makes sense, only because, look, if I thought that within 3 months you'd have the purchase, within 6
Mhm.
months you'd have a schematic of the Northern Valley Greenway, I wouldn't say it's premature. But I believe it's gonna be probably at least 2 years before you have a schematic. And as much as I believe we need to be involved, we need to have this committee, I also don't believe in committees that are formed and spin their wheels or have nothing to do. I mean, I can't envision, I hear your conception and that's fine. And it's good to share it with us at this point. Do you think this committee should be formed now?
Personally, me,
No, I'm speaking to Andrew.
Whether it's now or 6 months from now, well, aside from the fact that I would like it in place and the concept evolved so we can start in the other towns, which is gonna be 6 to 12 months down from whatever Tenafly is, the other towns will be a year behind. So I have a personal interest, not only agree interest, to start as quickly as possible. so the other towns won't run out of time in the long run, but that's not a Tenafly benefit.
All right,
I
but
understand, so
I'm-
from a Tenafly point of view, I think that it will help us in the next phase of the project to have a partner in town who can think long-term what feature functions, construction implications the town would like the Northern Valley Greenway to incorporate into our budgetary explorations.
But you said the next phase of your project, when do you expect the next phase of your project to start?
Probably later this year.
Okay.
Peter?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just, I'm sorry, one last thing
Go
that I
ahead,
just had a
please.
thought, as far as the scope, and I know the chamber was mentioned back and forth. From what I gathered, and I'm not, I saw the presentation, and yes, I've known now Fred for 2 years, around in and out of the Greenway, but I think this is bigger than a chamber. I think this is a set of constituents, one of which is the chamber, in my personal opinion. Because you have infrastructure, you have parks, you have municipalities, the businesses is one of the constituents of this deal.
Well, I'm not suggesting the chamber be a partner in this, merely that they should have representation
Yes.
and I'm not even sure, because Christine is involved with the Northern Valley Greenway. I don't think she should be on this committee, I don't think you should be on this committee, and I'm not sure who else in the chamber would be able to represent them. But
He should
Fred,
be
you
on
feel
the
this,
committee.
we should put this committee together
I
as
believe,
soon as possible?
yes, I believe, everything you guys started off the meeting talking about how long things take in government. So, knowing that you're 2 years, maybe longer to an acquisition, we don't know, I mean, only Andrew knows. But we should start preparing, because planning is gonna make things easier, so we're talking about it, it gets incorporated to the plan. If there's something that we feel is an infrastructure addition, and it could be incorporated to the Greenway, Andrew has some insights into state and county and other types of funding.
Okay.
Peter,
Mark?
so I think Fred has a lot of excellent ideas. There's lots of things all over the place and lots of different possibilities, which are gonna take a long time to flush out. So if we have him put a committee together that reports back to us, whatever it is at this point, once every 3 months, and he's working behind the scenes with Andrew, and they're each doing their particular role, because it's gonna take Fred and his team a long time to figure out what's gonna be a park, what's gonna be a trail, and we don't know how many years it's gonna be for Andrew to accomplish his goal. But it's almost like, why not have him start, report back to us quarterly about where he is, and, we can have a meeting like this, we can have a special work session, whatever it might be, and we see what ideas pop up
Okay,
out of
so
it.
what I'm
And we
going,
should also have, just to say, we should have a member of our council in that committee, at
well,
least one.
I'm
Yeah.
getting, absolutely.
Yeah,
So here's,
yeah,
here's
I
what,
agree with that,
here's
of
what I'm
course,
going
yeah.
to suggest.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask Fred to get to me, which I will obviously share with the council, a proposed makeup of the committee, all right? At which point, any member of the governing body, I don't know if we need 2 people on from the governing body, at least 1.
It
Yeah.
would make sense if it was either
Or-
Dan or I, cause then we're a go.
No, you're Northern Valley Greenway.
Right, which means we can coordinate an effort. That would make more sense than having to relearn information on either end.
All right,
So
we'll
Dan or
figure that
I,
out. We'll figure
yeah,
that out.
we'll,
Okay.
we'll worry about
Yeah,
it.
work
pointing
that through.
fingers.
Okay, so
All right.
We'll
Fred
worry
will
about
get
it.
something back to me, which we'll put on the agenda,
Yeah,
and we'll get going. All right,
Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you so
Fred.
much.
Thank you, Andrew.
thank you, Fred.
Next is solid waste,
Dan, I'll take it.
no reflection on the order, solid waste specifications.
I mean, one's more
I'll be
important,
all over.
this is it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Andrew.
because of the timing with our, garbage contract coming up very soon, and the fact that we have to publish in 2 newspapers, and it has to be, not like our regular bidding, which is 10 days before, it has to be 60 days before. I have drafted the bid specs, I've looked at our prior bid specs, and it has to follow the uniform solid waste bid specifications from the state. That has been updated, and I literally went word for word to draft everything, and I came up, with proposals. There is a resolution authorizing to go out to bid. The publication will be next week, which will give me time if, a lot of the language is standard. The only thing is, what council decides on are the options, the rear yard, curbside, a mix.
Well, you've got it all in there.
It's
Yes,
there.
but if you
Good.
want to go ahead with all this and see what comes in,
Yes.
do you wanna
Yes.
take anything
Yeah,
Yes,
out?
broader
absolutely.
is always
Yes.
better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I think you
and
did
on
a
the
great job.
thank you. I did this while I was sick with the flu.
Oh, how's that?
That's why you did a great job.
That's what
because-
made me stop ordering from
I hope
Grubhub.
it isn't contagious.
So
You'll
is that
find
in
out
our
soon.
current contract, if this new one gets delayed, are there current, there's provisions for them to continue on?
We
until
did
the-
that last time,
Okay,
so yeah.
Okay.
If that happens,
Now,
it'll go
why
on to
would
bid
it get
again.
delayed?
I couldn't imagine, but just in case.
Like we couldn't make up our mind? All right, next is the welcoming sign. Do you
Yes.
know who put
That
this?
was mentioned,
Yes, I
a
did.
couple meetings ago with getting the stigma-free signs.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the
That
thing,
the
the
county
phrase.
And the welcoming committee,
And then a
welcoming
welcoming type
town.
of sign, but, we have to
So
discuss it.
Dan was supposed to look at,
They
see,
never got back to me.
I'm sorry?
They never got back to me. With
and if not, how much would be to
Who is-
cost us
who
a
is
sign,
that?
same with
County.
Tenafly
Oh.
welcoming community?
Is a stigma-free.
No,
Stigma free, welcome
Well,
Well,
community.
there's already, all the municipalities that are stigma-free all have the uniform
Right.
sign.
Correct.
Stigma-free.
So we should
Don,
Forward.
Dan, Dan, is it a real problem to get those signs?
No, we just get the template and we pay for it. Oh.
That's what they,
How much is it?
How much is the template?
No, the template's free.
Sign.
Oh.
The sign is what we pay for. We buy the sign.
We're gonna change it with the template because we wanna say stigma free welcoming community.
well, it
Right.
depends
No,
on
no,
the
no,
type
no, no,
of.
you don't want, you wanna
Should
have
be
a
separate
uniform
sign.
sign, so that, I mean, if you wanna put a welcoming committee sign, a welcome community sign, that's fine. But the stigma-free sign should be the same
Stigma-free
sign
is
everybody
right.
else has.
Yes.
You know, you wanna be part of a stigma-free community, and that's,
Do you think it's gonna be hurting, saying stigma free welcoming community?
why would we put a different sign than everybody
Regular
else?
sign.
Because
Everything
the
else?
other communities might not be welcoming communities. We are special. We are a welcoming
Then
community.
you have to pay for a template as
I
well.
don't think they'll let you
The template-
put stuff on their stigma-free sign.
Fine. I supported
Yes.
a welcoming community sign.
Yeah.
I think that was important to
Separate.
pass.
I think it's separate.
Separate, a
Because
separate
the-
sign. I'm
You
saying
know,
I would support
one
paying
has,
for
one thing
both.
has nothing to do with the other.
Shell heart.
I agree, two signs are fine. I'm saying I support spending if anyone else.
$100 or
So
whatever.
we're
it is.
waiting
Well-
for a format from the county in order to move this forward?
No, that, for the stigma-free, if you wanted to do a sign as a welcoming community, you have to draft the size, the material, the locations.
Is that like a study? I mean,
No, it just has to, not so much a study, but where do you wanna put it, like.
Well, first of all,
Porter,
has
Bergenfield,
anybody,
Englewood.
has anybody seen a sign like a Tenafly, a welcoming community?
I've seen Sanctuary City signs.
Who?
Sanctuary City. I've seen Sanctuary City signs. We
Well,
are
we're not,
Sanctuary
we're
City.
welcoming,
Right,
what I'm
so
saying
They're
is,
saying
if
okay.
The
there's another,
only-
if, why don't you check the internet, see if there's some signs out there?
Yeah.
We can, not
Exactly.
steal, but like,
Yeah, no,
like
we
Paul
can
Key
steal.
says, borrow it from another community.
The
We can
only
have
welcome sign
the sign
I've
guy
seen
in
is on
Englewood.
Route 4 for Teaneck.
Okay,
Make us
we'll,
a
That's it.
Lori and I will get the sign type and bring it to the
Thank you.
committee to review. Okay.
Next is the 125th anniversary. You have when last you and I left, I asked you to meet with me, and we'll put together a committee.
Right.
You've got some volunteers for the committee already?
So Jeff and I had a conversation, so you asked Jeff as well, to be on the show. Jeff and I met
Jeff?
briefly, and, we brainstormed. And so this is what, if you don't mind, Jeff, if I read it, the
Come
list, okay?
Sure.
This is the
This
list.
is the one we went over the other day.
Yeah, this is the list of aspects of our community that we think we would like to invite to be part of this community, maybe one person from each area. 2 people from council, the HPC, the Chamber of Commerce, the Welcoming Committee, the Rotary, the schools, we've already spoken, Mayor spoke with Shauna DeMarco, the Tenafly Nature Center, the Rec Department, the Police and Fire Department, the Interfaith Committee, Lizette, if you wanna be on the community, the Senior Center, the Elks Club, the Garden Club, somebody in finance, somebody in marketing, somebody in party planning.
How many people is this?
And someone from PFLAG and someone from the Boys and Girls Scouts.
How many people is this?
It's 18.
I would urge you to get it down, maybe if you can't get it down to single digits, to no more than 10. Otherwise, your committee is going to be unwieldy.
So this is what we
And
discussed in
never-
the concept is to have one large meeting, welcoming committee, meeting, and then break off into different, a fundraising group, a party planning and event group, a marketing and PR group, so, you know, someone else to work on the historical documents and gathering different aspects of things, so that way 3 or 4 people are on each thing.
Okay.
Will you pick out an executive committee amongst yourself to kind of,
You're looking at the
To oversee
executive
it.
committee.
Well, the mayor is involved in this, and anyone else,
And,
You know?
Lauren is the executive committee.
so you're the executive committee?
I am not, I am
It's easier to
not.
make decisions
Lauren,
then.
I think basically what would happen is if we do have this committee structure, each committee would have a chairperson, and those chairs combined.
Would make up
would-
your
All right,
executive
Lauren, I would
committee.
just, Lauren, I would recommend to you,
Well, Lauren and
as
Jeff.
we all know, time
Mhm.
goes by very quickly.
Mhm.
We're down, you know, that you try and put things together sooner rather than later,
Mhm.
so that we don't create deadlines that we can't meet.
We were talking about, a meeting on January 22nd, Lizette said that this room is open,
Council
or
chambers.
council
Are
chambers
you
is
talking about
open.
night or after?
An evening meeting, and we can reach out to each of these groups. We said we'd start sending, and our borough historian, sorry, Paul Stefanowitz, if he's available. And reach out to groups and say, you know, would you like to be part of this? It will be a year-long process to celebrate the 125th celebration. And, you know, you're welcome to appoint whoever you want out of each organization to be part.
I would tell the council that Lauren and I have already reached out to the schools. We're having a contest amongst the elementary school classes where they write letters to us, telling us why they feel that the birthday party, which will take place on January 23rd, that's the official 125th birthday, should take place in their classroom.
So,
And at the same time, we've asked middle school and high school students a contest to create a logo for the, and both of those concepts have been well received.
and the 100-year logo, as I've learned, is right behind on the wall, and that was designed by students?
I have no idea.
Oh,
Oh,
that-
whatever.
Okay,
I
the
don't
other
think
thing I was
it's
gonna
a
say
great
is, we've gotten very positive feedback, or at least I have, I don't know about Jeff or the mayor, on this birthday party contest from all the elementaries. I was going to suggest one classroom winner from the 4 elementaries if they all 4 participate. I don't know, you know, I'm gonna get sheet cakes, or we're gonna get sheet cakes.
I was gonna buy the first sheet cake, you can buy the next 3.
I would, the students are working so hard, I would.
All right, hold on a second. David, did you wanna add something? David's from the HPC.
Hi, Dave.
I have just a couple brief comments.
Yes.
There's ample precedent for what you're doing since books were put out, or booklets were put out by, on the 50th, the 75th, and the 100th anniversaries. Now, I published a book that is very humble.
Oh, very nice, Macy.
Yes,
Thank
you can have it, but only you. Any more you have to buy, or you can go to the library, Tenafly,
You'll share that.
all around.
Can I pass it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Now, for the 125th, the town will have to, the corn cob binding is not enough, you should have something. And while I and the borough historian would be, we are updating this is 10 years old, updating it and adding more breadth to what's already there. So, and we don't expect any compensation, but you
You
do.
don't take bribes?
In that case, we'll give you a 20% raise.
Well,
However,
it's fantastic.
we're not, so you don't have to hire anybody, you have the 2 best local experts, living experts right here. But, but what you do have to do is, which the town has always done, is produce it. In other words, someone, you have to, your budget, you have to have, we're not going to cover the costs of this thing.
Sure.
So your budgetary members have to plan on how much you want to spend and from where you want to get the, actually put it into print. You have to, do your due diligence in that regard. But The other thing is, Jeff mentioned the tours. Now, I've given tours in the past, walking tours, which I'm glad to do. But if anybody on the committee would like to give a tour themselves, just to have the experience, historic experience.
Well, David, I think some of these things can be discussed at the first meeting. Either you or somebody else will represent the HPC there.
That's the chairperson's job to select somebody from the committee, HBC to be on it. It's not mine. So
Thank you.
I'm not available because I'm working on the manuscripts.
Oh, very
Yeah,
nice.
and any tours if you
Okay.
want.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on.
It's an incredible effort.
The update, administrator's update, please.
My only update is on the budget. The state is forcing this fast system onto everyone. Before it was like, it might be mandatory, it's not mandatory until later on, and now it's later on. So because of that, the budget deadlines have been moved. So basically, Susan and I looked at the calendar, our meeting calendar, and we anticipate providing the council with the budget on February 26th. And following our standard meeting schedule of Saturdays and a Tuesday where there isn't a council meeting, to schedule the meeting dates for March 2nd, 5th, and 9th. At the regularly scheduled March 12th meeting, that's when we have our overview with bond counsel and the auditor. And then as we compile the budget, any changes, any requests, additions, subtractions, the budget would be introduced April 9th and adopted May 7th, all consistent with the state deadlines.
I just wanna add what happened with Deborah last night.
Oh, that it's
That they're-
possible the
yeah.
deadlines
We
will be
don't start
extended
February.
even further, because they're still finding glitches, it's not a perfect system.
Oh, no, but something else. The Board of Ed audit was supposed to be due on December 5th and has been delayed to the February 13th, all across the state of New Jersey. And Deborah was here yesterday, Deborah Lurch, our auditor, and she said that this may have an effect on the timelines for the local municipal government budgets.
It's pushing it back.
Yeah, so she said they're waiting for guidance from the state.
So in that case, all deadlines will be moved back, and if we have to move it back, or our deadlines.
Right, well, Lizette and I are trying to stick to this schedule, but just making you aware of
Well,
what may take
that
place.
impacts
We'll
us,
move it further,
Out more.
yeah,
She
further,
doesn't
that
not
have-
move back.
that doesn't impact
Our process.
our process, though.
Our process,
the
it doesn't, just the final,
right, the final.
right,
Yeah.
adoption, right,
Okay.
our process is going.
We can adopt before the
Okay.
deadline.
Next
Well,
is,
they have
Well,
to
the
do
thing
their
is, if-
review.
Well,
Lawyers.
we
The auditors,
introduce, if
okay.
they, but the thing is, when we introduce, if we're not self-examined, we have to wait for the state to review the introduced budget before we could adopt. And if our hearing date is May 7th, we're not self-examined, the state hasn't reviewed it, we will hold the hearing, and our adoption is based on whenever they say, okay, go.
let's go to correspondence. The first item is a appeal of a tree removal denial, and we have our denier here.
Wait.
That's you? No?
Are we not gonna do the engineering report?
I'm sorry?
No,
Well, no.
that's the same one all the time. Nothing changed.
All right, I'll
The
talk to you
last-
separately. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, once again, well, anybody have any questions about this?
Yeah,
I,
you go first, lady.
I'm sorry, what, I'm here, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. So I have a question, so I'm a little confused here, because you hired a landscaper to put in, from what I understand, cypress trees on that corner? Are they cypress, the evergreen
No,
corner?
I haven't touched that section. I've been working, when I bought the property, it was a hot mess.
Okay, hold on for 1 second, because I need you just to introduce
Oh, I'm
yourself, your
sorry.
name and the
Thank you.
street
Well,
that
I
you
asked
live
a
with.
direct question.
I'm sorry,
No
thank you for
problem.
the reminder.
I know
My
who you
name-
are, but maybe if people watching on TV, don't get nervous, you look
No,
great.
I'm fine. Sorry, I have a cold, so forgive me. My name is
Okay, so-
Darlene Rosado, and I live at 338 Knickerbocker Road. I'm a new resident. I'm going on this year 3 years here. I've had the opportunity to walk around my property with Bob recently. I've done a lot of work landscaping on my property, because I felt that that's what I needed to do on my property. It was just a hot mess. Bob can attest to all the changes, the trees and the bushes that I have replanted to make the aesthetics of the home much better than what it was before. There's this one tree that's killing the section that I have not touched. I've already lost 3 trees, and I'm about to lose another, and it's gonna cost me money if I replant more trees when there's this one single tree that's blocking the other trees from flourishing. Now, I've worked with my landscaper who has many years' experience, and he feels the same way, that the tree is one of the reasons, the main reason why the trees are not getting sun, it's not getting enough water, because it's a young tree. Even Steve, what was his name? Jocks, yes. He also came to my property. He told me it was a county tree that was planted on private property. It's on my property. It's on the corner where my stake in the ground is. I have a picture if you'd like to see. I did email it.
Hold up, Google Earth.
Well, keep in mind, you say it's on your property,
Yes,
but it's a
it is.
county tree.
Yes,
The reason it's a county tree
I'm
is
getting to
because
that.
it's in the well, I just wanna
Oh.
clarify, it's in the county right of way. So, technically, it's not your property.
No,
Right.
actually, Steve explained to me that it's a county tree that was planted on private property. Because the
But-
tree is behind the property line.
Bob, is this tree in the right of way, Bob?
Would you
Pardon?
like to see the
I
picture?
have to see the picture again, it's just,
Is
A
this
few
tree
months since I've been
completely
up
on
there.
your property, or does some of it extend to the neighbor's property?
It's 98% on my property, and as it's growing, here's the picture.
Is that the one?
that's the tree.
And that's where the, that's where the, land surveyor put the marker in the ground.
Where is that?
With,
Anyone else wanna see?
Yes.
with all due respect, part of this is a neighbor-to-neighbor thing, okay? Her next-door neighbor believes that part of this tree is on his property, and I believe it is. I don't think that's controversial.
Picture doesn't lie, but go ahead.
Well, the picture doesn't lie, but it doesn't show where the property line is.
Well, the marker that was placed by the land surveyor, and it's recognized by the courts, we just finished going to one court. We're still going to court for another reason, which I can't discuss, but I do have a court order stipulating that that is my property. If you look behind the picture, it's a copy of my survey.
Okay, I would just, you come to us to give you permission to take the tree down?
I wanna take the
That's
tree down so that I can, one, put my fence up to secure my line of property. I have a young son. I don't have a good relationship with the neighbor, never had from the beginning. They were never gracious enough to say hello, although I tried. So moving forward, I got my permit for a fence. The tree is in the way. To complete my fence, I wanna secure my property. That's all I wanna do, and I wanna replant the trees that I have lost.
Okay, so the question I have I don't know if it should be addressed to our attorney, or to Bob, or a combination of both. If this is a county tree, regardless whether it's on private property or not, a county tree is a county tree. I don't believe we have the authority to tell somebody they can take it down.
Right. Absolutely.
And if there's a neighbor involved, the neighbor thing could be resolved very easy if you have a court decision. But this body does not have the authority to tell you can take the tree down if it's a county
It's a
tree.
county tree.
Dan, move it along, please.
So what can I do?
You have to deal with the county.
But the county told me, and I have it in email, I forwarded the email to Bob,
Right.
that, property owners make decisions about trees on their property, whether to spruce up their property, whatever the case may be.
Well,
As-
who gave you a denial on the tree permit?
Carl, I don't know if that's,
Who gave you a denial on the tree permit?
I don't know if that's, 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 I
Rossi.
Carl Rossi and I did, we both
because of the
rendered
town
the same
ordinance.
decision.
Which
On
is,
the same, to leave it up, because it's a perfectly healthy tree.
Mhm.
And if you're gonna put a fence up in that location, you just realign the fence to accommodate the tree.
Inside
And,
that,
yeah,
inside property
Move,
line.
move it inside the property line to accommodate the tree. And, in regards to the plantings, you just plant the proper vegetation to grow in that spot. I understand the residents' concern is they live on a busy roadway and they're trying to screen the roadway from their property, I understand that, but.
But this is not, but this is,
In accordance with the ordinance.
yeah, but this
I
is not
can't give
towards
permission
the
to take it.
proper, the roadway side, this is a
no,
side.
this tree is very close to the road.
Yeah, but the issue is, it's not screening on the roadway because the roadway is still,
And Bill, maybe you can answer this, can a fence come all the way out, in the front yard to to the street, like this? How tall is your fence?
No, it's a chain link fence, just 4 feet. I'm going according to what I'm allowed to do.
75% open.
I already see a violation over here in this picture. There is a violation of the fence law. All the fences have to be 75% transparent.
Oh, the house
That's
next
not my
door,
fence.
that's the
Okay.
house next door.
What I'm saying is, I'm not
Not
saying
that far
that's your
back,
fence,
though.
but I see already a
Well,
violation.
that's in the backyard.
Here.
It doesn't matter,
That's
it's
not
the,
here.
No,
Yes, Mr.
no,
Jones.
no, it doesn't have.
Sorry, if you're asking, I pulled up Google Earth on the property lines, that's what we're looking at.
Oh, I can't see what you're
You're welcome to look at it.
And it depends on, what size property,
Where we're looking?
So it's Google Earth of
Well,
338
so,
Nickelback.
so,
So they are allowed 100%
So,
where on the property.
I understand
So
why,
then-
why the
So
property
Is
owner
that
wants to
fence
take
on
the
the
tree
property?
down.
No, that's,
I
it's
just wanna
not this fence,
replant.
but in
It's,
violation of our
well,
ordinance.
but if you wanna take this tree down, what,
She
Why?
wants to make a fence
But
this way.
otherwise it can
The-
be 100%.
Which way?
From
the director
This
has
way.
deemed the tree,
That
denied the app
looks like
because it's a healthy tree,
It's that way,
until I
that.
see the court order, and I don't
Can't
doubt you,
tell.
but I would have to have the court order to know that the
The
court has
property is
decided
mine.
that the tree is theirs to take
In other
down.
words, that
No, no,
tree
the
is
court
on that
order
side.
stipulates
Even if it
that
is-
property
I don't know, look,
doesn't
I,
look like it,
you
I
know,
mean,
the decision, does anybody wanna pursue overturning the denial?
I can't see,
Not without more information.
What information do you need?
I wanna know whether this is on county property or private property, I'd wanna know that.
Well, it is, if it's a county tree,
Right,
it's on on county property.
and that, I mean, as long as we have confirmation it's county tree, then we're without
It's-
power here.
it's within the right, it looks like it's within the right of way
Yes,
of,
I'm sure it
of
is, it's
the
very
county
close to
road.
the street.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's within, from the curb line, it looks like it's within about,
You
5
have to,
feet,
could
6
you
feet.
explain that to me, because the stake in the ground is in front of the tree's behind my property line.
right, you're talking about the property lines between the adjacent properties, but
No, I'm talking about the property line, yes, it's between the two properties, but the tree is not in front, the tree is behind,
behind what?
behind what?
meaning on my property, not on what you consider town property.
No, but if the county has deemed it a county tree, it's in the right of way. Now, if the county said to you, it's not our tree,
He said
That's-
it, yeah,
he said it's a
it in
county
the-
tree.
He said I can do whatever I want as long as I abide by town rules.
Okay, well, the town has said you can't take it down. You're asking for a review of that by the council.
I don't know.
Is there anybody at
It's
the
just
table
one
that's
tree, so I
inclined
can
to
replant my
overturn the
trees.
denial?
This is Knickerbocker or County Road?
It's Knickerbocker.
This is Knickerbocker, but it also says county road.
It's a county road.
It's a county road,
Right.
yeah.
So, well, anyway, I was gonna say that, you'd have to look at your survey, okay?
My
to
survey's
see-
right here.
You have your survey, let me see it.
This is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
The survey doesn't show the tree though.
No,
No, it won't
but
show the
it's
tree,
telling you where the
but it'll
pipe
show
is,
how wide, the
and the
actual
tree
road
is in the
is.
corner. The tree is behind the pipe. That's what I'm trying
It
to
doesn't,
tell
but
you.
it doesn't show where the right of way ends. What part of the?
Well, let's say Knickerbocker Road, 60 feet wide.
Right, so it's 30
So-
feet from the center of the road,
Right, if it's within
in
30
each
feet.
direction.
Well,
And it's right on, it's
theoretically,
very close to
but-
the curb.
it says pipe found here.
Right.
And that's
oh,
the
so-
pipe in the picture.
Okay, the pipe in the picture.
No, the
Oh,
picture
oh,
behind
oh,
my,
behind, okay, okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Uh,
That's exactly where the
Oh,
pipe is.
where this flag is right here?
Yes. The trees, so
Who put that flag in?
the surveyor who
Okay,
did.
so then, you know, if it's on the other side of that, then it's on her property.
First
That's
of all,
that's a town
there
issue.
doesn't seem to be an inclination by the governing body to reverse the decision.
Right, well, that's the issue, but whether or not it's a county tree, depends if it's in the county right of way. It looks like if that surveyor's flag is in that place, and you're saying the tree's behind that surveyor's flag, then it's,
I mean, we don't know anything about the
I'm trying to understand.
I'd have to call Mr. Jackson.
Look, there is no reason to turn it back, to
well, it
take it
depends
back.
on the width of Knickerbocker right there.
There is no reason to take it down, so move on.
All right, I think, I'm gonna suggest that we move
We
on.
move on.
So,
No.
what's the,
The answer is we're not gonna overturn it.
you're not gonna, okay, thank you.
You're welcome, I'm sorry.
But you could try planting holly, which takes a lot better shade.
No, that's.
It stays green and it looks evergreen.
No, that's not the point. This tree is killing, it already killed 3 of my 6-foot evergreens that were there. I've already lost 3, it's costing me money. I'm about to lose another
Why
one,
would the tree-
all because of one tree.
How long,
Those are
how
direct
long,
sunlight
when were
trees,
those
though.
evergreens,
It's-
when were those evergreens planted?
I bought the property and those trees were there.
Okay, so that tree has been there,
Yeah,
that's not
this is
a
the
It's a
south-
young
it's
tree.
the south
It is a
side.
young tree.
Right.
On Steve,
What do you
Or
think
it's
of
a
the
young
young?
it's the east side of
he calls it a young
Knickerbocker.
tree. I'm not
So
the
that's
expert,
south.
he is.
Peter,
So the sun's going this way, it's
Peter.
blocking the sun.
Okay,
and it's
we're gonna
gonna-
move on, sorry.
Thank you.
All right. Tenafly.
Next is I would just ask for permission for every year, they have a parade, it's Little League opening day.
No, there is.
And nobody has an issue
Passover.
with that.
That day is Passover, I just wanna raise that, but I don't have an issue.
Also
Well, it's during the
birthday.
day,
Right,
they'll
that's
be
what I was
home in
gonna
time
say.
for the Seder.
Yes,
So,
that's what I said, I have no
you and
issue.
me, we're gonna go over there.
You having the same
So,
dinner?
can I,
But
You
this-
invited
with the
everybody.
council's permission, I'll tell them they have permission as long as they let the mayor throw out the first ball?
Hold on.
There you go.
No,
I
no, no,
would
no,
like
no,
it-
no, 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 no.
I would like to ask if this is baseball and softball,
Yes, the
please.
girls are invited, and
Yes.
then each year more girls participate.
Excellent.
And
Thank you.
Lauren is only inviting us to Seder.
You are all invited to Seder at my mother's house, 'cause
Next
I don't
is
cook.
this originally came from Senator Sweeney's office.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason not to,
I don't
Support.
understand
Can
what
you
the
explain
path
this
is. It
to, I
doesn't
don't
say
understand this
anything.
either.
It doesn't say anything.
Just to
What
raise
the,
finances or be,
yeah, it's,
financially-
use the path forward. Okay, what's the
For
path
what?
forward? I mean,
basically what they're talking about, and I went to this meeting, and they want to do a study and work to cut back on the expenses side of the state budget. And
okay,
I said to them, I said, you know, with all respect, I don't know how you're gonna cut back on expenses. What you should be doing is creating policies that encourages more revenue into the state, more businesses to come into the state. Because what the state is doing is discouraging new business. Old businesses are leaving, and the end result is it's tougher and tougher to balance the budget. I think they would have more success if they created policies that brought new assets into the state. But in any case, I don't see the harm in supporting this.
but we don't know what.
I don't know
it is.
enough about it.
So the path
Mayor?
to progress is the state trying to figure out how to get out of the pension problems they're in, the deteriorating transportation, and everything else that's going on. In other words, the pension system is 150 billion underfunded. They want they're asking for a resolution to support, but they sit down and think about how they get out of it.
But, Mark, Mark,
You're asking me, I'm just
no,
giving you the
see
explanation.
what I'm, if they don't tell us what it is,
Right.
maybe the path to progress is taxing everybody another $50 million.
Well, maybe
There-
it should, to your point, it should include better communication possible.
Or
So-
something
so-
that tells us, you know,
I-
Just to
Lisa
let you
doesn't
know,
wanna pay
there-
any more
there
taxes.
is a website for
Yeah.
this path to progress. And I think the only problem I see is that we're dealing with you know, the changes to the pensions where you're going to take away from people you know, what their pensions their promised pensions are.
So should we
Which
not?
is
And
okay.
healthcare and all of it. No. What
Which is
happens
okay.
is you negotiate with them for a lower salary based on a pension in the future, And then
And now
you're
they have
taking,
higher
now they take-
salaries, no, they
No,
have
no,
higher
no, no.
salaries
But
than.
they
No.
can't earn other
And
savings.
Susan
meaning
pointed,
compared to the
and
private
Susan
sector.
pointed out
They
that they're
wanna
trying to merge the state
state
pension with the local pension. The local pensions are healthy and the state is unhealthy.
Right.
I don't think that,
So
Which
let's
they
not
did with
make a
the-
resolution.
let's
I would
find
say-
out what it is so we can, no,
Yeah.
that makes no, if that's what it is, basically, that's always afraid that merging, taking money from us
Assumed in the red.
will be the
Well,
exact,
Max, it's a democratic initiative.
let's vote it out.
There is a resolution on this I'd actually like to support, and that is, we spoke with, or I spoke with Gordon Johnson and Valerie Huddle on this, is to make a resolution against the blue laws, or to ask that blue laws be done municipality by municipality. And that is a better path to progress.
That's not
the
on the
By the
agenda.
way,
It
to
is,
my-
That
to my-
is for the good of
It
the
is.
order.
Okay,
It is.
well, when we get there, we'll get there.
To my knowledge, just to let you know, I don't think Loretta or Gordon have signed on, and they're not
On the
On to
path
what?
of progress,
on the path to progress.
if we
So
can
we
have
should know
some
why
sort of
they
a
aren't.
understanding it.
All right,
I don't
I
have
looked,
enough
because at the
information.
meeting, I did get some paperwork on it, I thought I'd passed it on to the council, but maybe I didn't.
No, we didn't,
Okay, let's
if
move
they,
on.
what they're looking is to merge our pension plan with the state, is basically stealing our money
Okay,
to pay the
any
thing.
questions on the resolutions?
Yes.
What they did with-
Yes,
Energy tax.
I'm sorry, but I need to take, please look it up.
Hold
and-
on a second, let's
Which
wait,
number?
wait till we have, the crosstalk is on.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Please look at the resolution that is outlined, authorized renewal of plenary retail distribution.
Yeah,
Okay, open it up, please.
Is this the alcohol liquor license?
Yeah, and it says-
I'm on this too.
Okay, it says, the first paragraph, the last sentence says, it is now within the purview of the local issuing authority to either grant or deny your renewal application in the reasonable
who's
extent.
this for?
Okay,
This is a pocket,
pocket, yeah.
distribution license. It
For-
used to be, it's Bandana Admin, it used to be the Packard Bamberger one. It's for a liquor store.
And this is killing our town. Basically, those pocket liquor license, and the people in town, they don't have, because and
No,
I am
hold on a
opposed.
second,
No,
If you
what,
don't,
hold on a second.
what it does, the license remains active. If we do not renew the license, the
Yeah.
state, you have
Takes
to go
it
for this, they have to go for a special ruling. They have to show that they're actively marketing, they're trying to sell it
Let
or
'em go
establish
for it.
a place.
The-
If the municipality does not, renew it,
Yeah,
then it goes into history and there's no more license.
fine.
But
So
we,
you have
we
one
collect.
less-
The borough
That's
loses.
terrible,
Lose
Right.
one.
that's
No,
terrible, you
is
have
it
one
based
less
on
license in
population?
town.
No,
No, no,
it's-
no, no, to
no,
get
no.
a new license by the census, and our population has to grow by 3,000 to get a new license. When you have certain licenses, if people move out, you keep that as long as they pay their renewals, their tax, the sales
Yeah,
taxes
but-
and everything.
Pay
Let
the
them
renewal.
sell it to us.
Yeah, exactly.
A municipality
We
cannot
can't
hold
own
a
it. No,
license.
hold
You
on.
can't
Yeah.
hold
It
the
has to
license.
be.
Let them sell it to somebody that
But
owns.
but if he doesn't,
If he doesn't,
we
he'll
end
lose
up,
it.
you lose it.
Our message is basically, if you do not wanna use it, sell it to
Well,
somebody
you
else.
can tell
You
him
can-
that, but your message is not
A
gonna,
special,
you're
We need
The
them
only-
before
okay.
gonna end up
The
losing a
special
license.
condition-
I don't think
conditions-
we're gonna,
a municipality could
absurd.
only put special conditions if it's for health and safety, like, you have to adhere to a certain curfew, or,
it doesn't
make
say
sure.
that here.
No, that's what the
Look at the-
statute
Yes, the
is.
statute.
Yeah,
In order for there
I-
to be,
You've read that.
in order for
Yeah,
there to be
yeah.
a special ruling, they have to convince the director at the ABC that they have to prove they're actively marketing it, that they're trying to sell
Let
it
them show
or
us.
open.
Well,
But
that's
they
what
show that to the state.
If we approve this, they have to show it. All right, if we,
They- they
if we
showed it
don't
to the
approve
state.
Show
it,
it to the
the
state.
town loses the
Here's the
ability to
suggestion.
have another place with a license.
Yeah.
The license goes away. You don't wanna do that. That'd be the worst thing you could do for the downtown.
Let me ask you, but is there a deadline on this? Is there a deadline on our?
2020.
Okay, I would like to.
No,
No.
when you go for a pocket license, when you're going for a special ruling, you could apply to cover 1 year or to apply to cover no more than 2 years.
Mhm.
So what they applied for is to cover for 2 years while they actively market to either establish a location or sell it to another.
Here's what I would like to do, and I,
Yeah.
with
Please
support of
speak up.
council.
You know what this
I-
means.
Wait, listen,
I'm saying
Yeah,
you'd
yeah.
wind up losing the license. If you
Yeah.
lose the
I
license,
would
it's
like
gone
to-
forever.
I would
Yeah.
like to take this resolution out of the consent agenda
You do.
and ask this liquor license owner to come before us next time.
Absolutely.
Why?
It's-
What-
But what are you gonna accomplish by
What's the
that?
purpose?
Even if
I am
if they don't,
Hey.
if they don't satisfy you,
I'm
hold
down.
on, hold on. If they don't satisfy you that they're actually actively marketing the
There's no way
license,
they are.
okay, then what are you gonna do? You're not going to approve it, then you lose the
Lose the
license.
license.
Okay,
What-
so listen,
what will
if they're
happen-
not
That's
marketing
not my-
anyway,
That is not my intent.
you know.
What's
I am
your intent?
I am approached by numerous restaurants. I go to different towns and people, for example, there's a restaurant in
No,
Ridgewood.
this wouldn't apply to a
can't go
restaurant, this is a
there.
liquor store.
Only
Yeah.
a
A
liquor,
liquor store,
This is-
a 44 is a liquor store, a 33 is a restaurant. So this is only a liquor store.
I'm just saying, businesses are constantly
Mhm.
looking for liquor licenses
Well, the
here in
liquor
Tenafly.
licenses that are pocket, I have realtors, I have businesses contact me, and I give them the list. There's the Fortune
Keep-
Tenafly, that was Charlie Brown's. There's the Sanzari license, they're selling it for
Those
over
are
600,
33s though.
over 600,000 just to have the license, and it's a private marketing deal. And then there's the sidebar, which is a nightmare
But
in
keep,
and of
keep
itself.
in mind, Lauren, if you had this person come in, one of two things would happen. Either he would convince you that he's actively marketing,
Right.
or he wouldn't convince you.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't convince you and you deny this, this license goes away forever. There's no purpose
It's
to
not,
it.
that's not my intent.
And
Yeah, but
he
it-
bought
Not
this
fine.
license
It's-
from Packard
it's- the
Bamberger
intent
that
is to
had it
put some
pocketed for
pressure.
16 years.
The intent is to put some pressure on the owner to really,
To use it,
to move
use it
their,
or sell it.
exactly, and sell
But
it.
the problem is, Max,
Yeah.
that the guy has been
The state
actively
will
selling it.
overrule us.
The reason it doesn't sell is because it's so
That's true.
expensive.
Because he is
And he's not,
asking for
he's
some.
not gonna lower the price, because if you deny
What's
it,
the reason?
He's gonna lose it. He's
So
gonna
what?
get
The
nothing.
state already
So
Right,
if
but
there
it-
is an
Said okay
incentive
to
for
their,
him to
right.
basically
Right.
sell it
But
before
we
he
don't
gets
have any
nothing.
leverage, is what I'm telling you.
I
Everything
think we
You
do.
understand, at the end of the day, we're the only ones who will lose.
No, the
We'll
only,
lose the license.
we don't have to deny it right now. We can postpone it,
Common sense,
ask him to come
please.
over here. And he has to understand that we're not willing to
All right,
basically,
Jeff,
and then he was gonna have
Jeff,
to move
I
his
thought it
ass
was
to
a
get
restaurant.
his,
No,
No,
33 is
it's
restaurant,
still-
is liquor store.
Right.
Bill
We
or
have four.
Lizette, a quick question.
Mhm.
Where it says in the affidavit or petition
Thought it
form,
was a restaurant.
where it says that at this time I am in the process of finding a location to transfer the license to, is it required that that location be in the borough of Tenafly?
Yes.
Yes.
They
Yes.
cannot take it to another
Yeah.
location?
All right, so, we can,
Okay, I take it back.
remove this from the consent agenda. If there, is there anybody else that wants to vote this, not vote this, pass this today? All right, let's move on.
Good of the
For the
order.
good of the order, parking lot O.
Okay, this is, A and B are together, actually, parking lot O and parking garage, together, same idea. I am going to be going with Bob Colbert and Andy from Mazer, Andy Hippolyte, are gonna come and we're going to review and walk through parking lot O for, right now, maintenance, suggestions on how to better improve traffic, how to better improve trash collection back there, and to see what we could do about the restaurants and stores using the behind the store area for collection and garbage and boxes and crates.
and if I can ask,
Yeah.
also the access to, see if
That's
we
right.
can put lights or
That's
something,
exactly what
put
we're
it
gonna-
nice as lines to
Yes.
show, come over here and make it more
I would
attractive.
tell you that the
Yes.
first part of that, I did that with Andy about a year or two ago.
Right,
And unfortunately, from a
I know, we've walked it,
yeah, so, I mean, lights, yes, you could do that. There's only one thing, problem with lights, and that is it costs money.
Well, that's why I wanna know right now what could be possible, so I can either have an idea to present at budgetary time, with costs and information, or that it's not possible, and then we can move on.
Okay. Next is polling places, and I would tell you that I
Wait,
met with.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
the other thing is we're going to look at whether a structure can even be possible there, with Fred's idea that we need to start building up infrastructure to support rails to trails. For us to be Tenafly's anchor, you need a place to start the anchor, and which is a park and ride idea.
Yeah.
People will come with their bikes attached to their cars, and they have not enough place to park in the place we want them to start the trail. Yes, there's sufficient parking in other lots, but this is really the most convenient place.
And it's
Well,
in the
you want,
center of the
you-
town.
but you wanna know something? This committee that Fred is gonna put together,
Mhm.
well, the ideal situation is, the best parking lot we have, especially on weekends, is the Wells Fargo lot, which is totally empty on weekends.
And not owned by us to build on, is it?
Who's talking about building one?
I am, I'm talking
well-
about building on a lot,
Building what?
building infrastructure,
Oh, did you
bike
s-
racks, bathrooms,
In a
parking.
parking lot? You're gonna
Yes,
take
parking
a
garage.
parking space? But did you read what Fred said about what it costs for a parking space versus?
I did, which is why there'd be bike racks within this structure.
Yeah, but you're talking about, and I think it's a low ball figure, $15,000 to create each parking space?
Mayor, if we're going to be building up our downtown and revitalizing it and supporting this Rails to Trails initiative, I don't think we could do it without this kind of infrastructure.
And
Well,
it doesn't
I
have to
really
be
don't.
down, maybe 2-3 years
Well,
down the road.
my own feeling is that we would be well served to try and direct and encourage the cars to park down on Franklin Street in that lot that's empty on weekends.
It's not a direct start to the trail.
Well, it can be. We haven't figured out where the direct starts are going to be.
It
Most
can-
of the
it might be
most of
both.
most of the cars that come into Tenafly for this will either come down East Clinton or Dean Drive,
Mhm.
and it's just as convenient to go to Franklin Street as it is to go behind CVS, which, by the way, is where shoppers park. So you're gonna push out the current shoppers for the bikers.
Well, it will be bringing people downtown.
Well, I just think the parking garage there makes absolutely no sense.
Well, let's take a
Well,
look.
hold on a second. Vanu had his hand, and then you, Mark, please.
No, no.
All right, Mark, please.
You didn't wanna, no, so I used, one of the things about parking garages, I have an office in Englewood, and there's a parking garage that is kind of like this area, it's a little bit removed from the main strip, and I will tell you, the garage is constantly filled. You know, if you don't get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, by 9:30, it's pretty much you're going up to the fourth level, cause people do use it. And I think it's something that we should definitely look at, maybe the nonprofit associated with Fred or Andrew puts their 2 cents into it to figure out how we would make this work, cause we do have a problem downtown, is everyone's complaining they can't find parking spaces.
The problem, though, is that lot is small. I don't know what the minimum size you need for
The
a parking
mathematics have
garage
to be
is.
done, right, everyone has to do the homework.
I
and
would,
figure it
I
out.
would urge people to consider, we have the opportunity to buy a parking lot across from the senior center. And I know it's cheaper than building a parking garage, and you'd increase the amount of spaces that we own by about 40. And I think that is to me, it's a no-brainer. I wish that you folks would consider that.
Mayor, with the amount of people estimated to be using this Rails to Trails, we might need all three. And so
Well,
we
we
need
may
to.
not have the opportunity to buy that lot
I understand.
in 2 or 3 years.
I would develop all three at this point, or I'd look to start investigating all three, which is what this initial meeting.
Well, the owner of that lot is very willing to sell.
Okay.
Yeah,
something
he's
to consider.
attacking everybody to trying to sell, probably came to you too, and because it came to me when I was over there, and I said, sorry, this is not something that I make decision or something. It's not something that I will bring it up. It's up to the council to decide.
Moving on, polling places.
Polling places, Lisette and I met today.
Good.
We're going to make a presentation to the county and hopefully get the polling out of middle school and
Okay.
McKay.
I think the Board of Ed will very much
I'm
like to
sure.
hear about that
Well,
and
we're
join
doing
you.
that, we're gonna do everything we can.
Excellent.
Will the timing on that possibly work for
Probably
primary in
not, probably
June,
not
or
for the
Probably not for
primary.
the primary.
not for the primary, but for the
Because
general
they-
election?
We'd have to propose a location, and then they have to send inspectors, and then they have to verify it's ADA compliant, the parking, the availability of bathrooms for the poll workers, that they will be open in time for the poll workers, which means somebody has to be there by 4 a.m. until 10, 11 o'clock p.m. They have to look at all that. Then that goes to the state, and then it's up to them. Under Title 19, schools are number 1, and public facilities are number 2. And the argument has been for years and years since I've been here, I have been able to move polling places, sometimes with a fight, sometimes not with a fight. And they say that security is not the reason, it's ADA accessibility.
Dan?
Okay.
That bill, in the state, with the covering the cost of the security.
Nothing has been adopted. It would have come through my organization.
Blue laws?
as I said earlier, I would like to encourage the council to write a resolution to our local government representatives stating that we no longer want blue laws here in Tenafly. When I spoke with our local assembly people, they said that if there's enough support for something like this, if our town kind of starts a trend, that they could possibly introduce something in which the towns choose whether their blue laws are enforced in their own municipality. I think the blue laws are hurting our downtown. I think we have a religious community here that does not shop on Saturdays, my mistake. And I just think the stores have the option then of opening up on a Saturday or Sunday or both.
And keep in mind, the stores that wanna open up on Sunday are opening up on Sunday.
The retail?
Mm-hmm.
How can they open if it's Bergen County?
Because it's not enforced.
Okay.
Walk downtown on Sunday.
Well, we should even more so take a stand behind
Well,
them.
it's no
then.
problem, I mean, we can take a stand, I think,
Yeah.
I think you're, you know,
It might be a pipe
tugging
dream.
on Superman's cape.
Gotta start somewhere.
All right.
Is there a consensus, you wanna put this
Does anyone
resolution
vote?
together?
Why not?
I agree with
Sure.
that.
Okay.
Dan? Yes? Oh, unanimous.
Jeff, you have the last one?
Yeah, this came up at HPC and Karen News and Kevin Tremble, who's not on the HPC but used to be in goes to all their meetings. This is a state proposal. It is co-sponsored by our assembly person, Valerie Huddle. What it does is it provides a tax credit, a state tax credit to the owners of historic properties for the renovation work they do on the house. Now, most of the majority of the renovation work has to be done on the exterior because that's really what's usually protected. There is some movement on this bill. It's been around for a long time. I thought since we have had problems convincing businesses and owners, and it does cover businesses, that it would be good for us to support this idea of a tax credit
Sure.
for.
I think it's a no-brainer, absolutely.
Any sense of the value of the tax credit in real simplistic terms, how it works?
So, well, it's a 25% tax credit of the value of the work,
The value of the work.
yes. So, let's say you do $250,000, then you're getting a quarter of that amount, 60,000 as a credit.
Okay.
Up to a certain amount, the state does have some caps, but they're revising a lot of those right now, because the caps are old. They started in 2011 or 12, I think.
So you would get a credit of 25% or whatever the number is
Of the renovation
of the
work.
increased tax due to the renovation.
Yeah. No, the renovation work.
That's
It's a
too good to be true.
one-time
Folks,
That's too good to be
let-
true.
let-
One-time
The cap
credit.
is 25K.
Let's just pass the resolution,
25K, okay, fine.
okay?
I fully support that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I have two issues for the
10 years.
good of the order,
You only apply
and
for it once
as a matter of
every
fact, one is, did we, basically, are we now done with COA?
Hold on a second, guys.
Yeah, are we
Wait,
done
just
with
wait,
COA?
wait till everybody's ready, Max, because nobody's listening.
Are we basically, our resolution with COA done, finished, are we?
I don't know if do we have
Oh,
the judgment?
we haven't gotten the judgment yet, but all the activity that we were required to undertake, we've done.
We
And
did.
we completed.
When are we gonna basically say that's the now we are completely
We're
done?
protected, that's what it really means, we're protected from builder remedy suits. Technically, we're still required to meet our requirements.
Yeah, but I understand, but do we wait for any other judgment or
No.
any?
No.
No, okay, so what I'm trying to do, I'm asking the council to basically urge the planning board to start declaring the country club and the monastery as the green spaces. We can do that without having to have a plan, and they get protected. And then if there is any issues, we have the laws on our side, basically saying,
So what you're saying, in 7 years, when our protection runs out, those spaces will be vulnerable to development. That's what
there,
you're
right
saying.
now, I don't know if it's 7 years.
Well, we're protected till
2025.
2025. That's 6 years. So in 6 years, those spaces will be vulnerable to builder remedy suits.
Whatever, they are, they're gonna be, it's more than whatever they have right now.
No,
It's-
right now, we're protected.
Max,
And right
No,
now.
no, no, right now they can sell and build over there anything they want.
No, they can't
In-
build
in-
anything they want.
In
to.
compliance with
In
the
com-
zoning
yes.
code.
The zoning, it's
in-
half acre zoning.
Yeah, and they can do exactly what they did with the 53 Knickerbocker. And we don't want that to happen. So if we declare those specifically as a,
It's broader than that.
Yeah.
It's any green space. It's a change in the master plan to protect the interest of the borough to
Yeah.
create green spaces.
and if we declare them green spaces, they cannot be any more either subdivided or sold.
Can we even do that on private property?
Yes, we have a
I'm
law.
asking the
Wait,
attorney,
wait.
not
He
you.
might not know.
Can you create green
It can't be for
space?
specific space.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to
Please
that.
look into it.
Uh,
Before
okay.
before we go any farther,
So-
I'm not sure that's
Talk to
Jeff said.
Hmm?
Jeff Zen,
Jeff,
because I had conversation with Jeff Zen, who asked me to wait for this
Well,
to be-
But
with
is
good
that
reason.
taking away a
You're
property
just
right?
making us very vulnerable in 6 years.
do after.
No, it doesn't
I
make you
don't
any
know- I don't know
vulnerable in
you
6
do.
years.
I mean, it would seem to
It-
me that that's
for-
taking away a property right.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely.
Because,
Yeah,
and that's not a zoning, it's not a zoning
you know
ordinance?
something,
It's
if
a
you
change
don't
to the
know,
master plan, but I'll
Bob,
look at Casey.
Bob, if you don't know,
Bill.
talk to Jeff
I
Zen.
don't know
Bill,
the answer
Bill.
to
Talk
that.
to
Bill.
Bill,
Call your
talk to
mom.
Jeff Zen if you
Talk to
don't,
Jeff
rather
Zen.
than start, I don't, property stuff like that, baloney.
Okay.
What else,
Okay.
Max?
Yeah, I also
What's the next
wanna,
good idea?
I wanna, ask the committee,
It's a good
permission to,
Yeah.
start talking to our co-attorney about, using COA money to rebuild the senior center as a part, using.
Absolutely not. You have no standing to speak to the COA attorney. You wanna speak to, you wanna
I'm
ask-
asking the committee,
But you
if
don't
the
have any
committee,
standing. I'm making a statement.
I
You-
thought
you-
the attorney is on behalf of the borough.
absolutely,
The COA attorney is on behalf of the borough.
Exactly.
Why can't council speak
so
to
why
him?
can't council talk to them?
Wait, I'm just.
Well, what
forget
makes
this
you
issue.
think
He
of
wasn't
this
talking
and
about
that?
Forget what issue?
No, I'm saying, it doesn't matter what issue, I'm saying, do we have the right to speak to the COA attorney?
Of course,
Well, first of
And ask
all,
questions.
Max has been told numerous occasions that you can't use COA money to fix up the senior
I don't
center.
wanna talk about this particular issue, I'm asking about the procedural issue. Do we as a council member have the right to talk to the COA attorney and ask questions?
It's always been a policy, although, I don't know that it's been obeyed, that individual council people can't talk to professionals.
if the council
without-
decides that they can't do that.
Without,
Council
without
permission.
the council specifically
That's why I'm
saying that
asking
you
here.
could- you could do
That's
it.
why I'm asking here for permission from the council.
Why don't, can I ask
Okay.
a que- before
Yeah.
we like invite attorneys in and have conversations and run up bills, it's usually less expensive if we ask them in writing for their opinion on this topic.
I'm okay with
And
that.
then it might only take them 15 minutes to write an opinion and everybody's.
I'm
then
okay,
happy.
that's one.
Hold on a second, when I write a legal opinion, I pay for my research and my writing and my
Okay, so-
editing
so
and my
but
opinion,
when-
that actually costs,
But we're not
that's
asking you to
significant.
write it, we're asking.
I'm saying same idea, I'm
I
an attorney.
understand that.
Yeah,
But
so the
let's-
idea is, if it's in the writing or not, I'm
Right,
asking
so
the
we
council
understand what's
permission.
going
Same
on.
amount of time.
Right.
I'm asking for the council permission to do so.
So we have Bill contact the COA attorney and get the opinion on your question.
Yes,
Can we use COA money?
to, yeah,
Yeah, it's a simple enough question, let's see, that's fine.
exactly.
I
That
have,
was a no last year.
I think the answer is no.
But no,
if
no,
we
we
want
never had
but
a,
hold on,
yeah.
if we make a,
No.
not just a senior center,
For
but there's
senior
areas.
center,
But there's not just, in other municipalities, I've seen things where it's more of a community center where different ages use it. So there was the senior center,
Community centers are built
It-
usually with federal or state funding for that purpose.
Yeah.
COA money is very narrow, there's a very narrow use for COA money.
but hold on, so this was a facility that had a senior center and oddly a daycare center,
Nick,
and the
what town?
seniors would help out in the daycare center.
But I guarantee it wasn't built on COA money, guaranteed.
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
I do.
Okay.
Wait, what town is this?
Well,
COA
What town?
money can be used only for
It's
affordable
in New Jersey.
housing. Now, you
Right.
can use it for,
Specific.
for special needs housing, because that falls under the auspices of affordable housing.
So, okay,
Senior centers, daycare centers do not. Community centers do
well,
not.
Bill, you gonna talk to them?
I'll ask him, yeah, I'll ask Ed.
Okay.
Could find it.
But
All right.
Oh,
I,
that's
again,
a-
you and I
that's
once
zero.
discussed this.
No, you
anyway.
and me discussed about apartments on top of this.
Apartments.
Or it's
Yeah.
private.
Different
Well,
apartments on
Max,
top.
make sure you
Which might
clarify
be
exactly
usable.
what you want with
I will,
Bill.
I will. And
Which
the-
might be doable.
Which might be doable, and then
Right.
and then we can do that with apartments on top to use the money for that one. That's Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you were doing affordable housing on top of it, but whoever
Sure.
wanted, if you wanna do that.
Well, you know, it's
First
a
of
way
all,
to
the
leave money.
seniors have told us time and time again, they don't want
Don't want.
apartments on top of the
Yeah,
senior
but
center.
That's-
So you wanna
that's
go
one
through that
group of
again? That's
individuals.
fine, Max, that's a good time to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's
agree.
fine.
And,
Okay. All right, and the next thing is, small things, basically, bring you to bigger things. When I did the expense check last time, I found out that one of the people in town has ordered basically Norton antivirus.
Have what?
Ordered Norton antivirus for a computer. So that got me to another inquiry. Ask Susan, why is anybody ordering Norton antivirus when we are all on antivirus system based on the system of the school? So Susan went and found out that there are 4 or 5 computers which are not integrated in our system and are used individually.
Hold
Well,
on,
they're
don't
saying
put
that
words in
they
your mouth.
can't, they're saying that
They're
they
saying.
can't be integrated with the Board of Ed because it's in, I think, the fire department and fire prevention.
No, but
Fire prevention, only fire prevention.
so there are 4 or 5 computers that are not integrated.
Are they
they're
all
not
in the
controlled.
fire department?
They're in, I think they're in fire prevention, Alden's area.
Well,
But he
and-
does fire and fire prevention, so I'm not sure exactly. the split.
Could you please get an explanation for this?
Well, they said they can't use.
Who's
the-
they?
Alden said he cannot use the Board of Ed software. That's what he said.
but the-
See, I was under the impression
so
that
bad.
there were some police computers that are independent,
There are police computers that are independent. as well.
independent with good reason, legal
there are
reasons.
separate, yeah.
I don't, Lisette, who should look into this?
But we've been trying to look into it.
I'm trying, I'll
See,
speak to
Max
Alden.
believes that they can be integrated.
Absolutely.
Well, I, with all due respect to Max, I'm not sure that he's aware of all of the nuances. Either they can or they can't be, and if you can't get an answer from Alden, we need to go somewhere else
To
to
the
get an
IT
answer.
group. We have
To the
go
IT, that's what we need to
We
get
have
to
to
the
go
IT.
to the
Of course.
Board of Ed
Absolutely.
and ask the Board of Ed if those computers can be integrated in with our software.
Because we cannot have
And those-
independent computers connecting to our systems and,
Well, apparently it's not connected to our system.
no, it
They
is
are
connected.
not.
It's
No,
our,
it's
our
not.
data.
It-
Our data, it's
Well,
on
it's
this.
not on our server.
It's not on our server, Max.
It's, but that's what I'm saying. We cannot have our data, which is on their computers. It's
What do you mean our data? What's our data?
all the fire prevention data of the town.
Well,
If they-
I'm not saying this is the case, but I wouldn't put it
It doesn't clean
out of the realm of possibility that state requirements have it separate. You know, this is why, instead of saying that that it's wrong, ask for an answer.
I did, and I've
Well,
never got
I
one.
hear you saying that we can't do this. Well, you don't know if we can do it
You
or
know what,
not.
I'll
no.
investigate more, Max.
Okay, we need
We
because,
need to
out
get
from
an answer,
Xavier.
that's what we need.
Okay,
okay, and that's
I'll find
basically
out.
the last of my 3 issues.
A motion to close the work session,
So moved.
a second?
Second.
Would you like 2 minutes before, do
Yeah.
you have anything
Yeah.
else?
Please.
Okay, 2-minute break?
I don't wanna spill on it.
Good evening. It's still evening, right?
Yep.
Okay. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year confirmed at the annual meeting are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. You should eat peanut butter sandwiches before you say all this. Copy of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the records of Rivernight Northern Valley Press and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal center. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Zina?
Yes.
Mayor Weston?
Here. I'll entertain a motion to approve the following sets of minutes: November 19th, the work session, the regular meeting and the closed session; December 4th, the work session and the closed session; December 11th, the closed session, the regular meeting, and the second closed session. A motion, please? Thank you. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Revisions to the agenda?
I don't think we have any, right? We're not
Yeah,
moving-
we-
We're removing that,
Plenary,
we're removing the, resolution, R 19-49 from, wait, you just did the consent agenda, didn't we?
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
We could
Okay.
vote, and if somebody wants to vote differently
Okay.
on a resolution, they can.
I thought you wanted to discuss or
So
something,
the
okay.
answer is no.
No, no
Thank you.
revisions.
Public comments? We've lost our audience. Wait,
Um, just briefly,
please, just state your name for the record, please.
David Wall, 11 Cameron Road. I'm a member of the Historic Preservation Commission. But while I was sitting here listening to you, I heard some of you, at least I understand, want to put up a sign at the entrance that's stigma-free. We are a stigma-free community. Now, I don't know anything about the organization behind it, but I'll say this much. I'm concerned about clogging up the entrances to our town. Clutter, that's the word I'm looking for. And briefly, I challenge you to drive down Dean Drive into Englewood. They have a big sign there saying exactly that. If you like the sign, go ahead and vote for it. If you want to be honest with yourself and you don't like the sign, that it almost seems to invite trouble. I'm not saying it would invite trouble, that's extreme, but it's not a pretty sign. Tree City, we are a Tree City, I like that at the entrance.
Well, David, keep in mind that the stigma-free sign we're talking about is smaller than the Tree City sign. It's not a big sign.
But it's, okay, but it's, my opinion, it's ugly. As far as a welcome sign, just says welcome, that is unnecessary too, but at least it's not, the message is simple enough. But it's clutter, and I invite you before voting for it to consider.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bash?
yes, with the exception of R 1949, where I vote no.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Zina?
Yes.
Thank you. Committee reports. I'll start with you tonight, Jeff.
Well, you saw me in the peanut butter and had
There you go.
I'm trying to discourage people from stealing my snacks so early in the evening.
You should have started with Dan.
All right, so,
Right. All right, Dan, you start.
thank you.
Quick update from the NVG committee. There will be another public information session January 29th, 4:30. You have a meeting that night?
Yes, yes.
What is that?
Yes.
4:30 to 8 p.m. at NVD Regional High School. That's the one on Knickerbocker. So they'll be going over the last meeting where they put together all the info from the last meeting.
That's it?
That's it for January.
Mark, you have anything?
Sure, well, the rec board didn't meet last Wednesday, they didn't have a quorum, so it's rescheduled to the end of the month. But that's all I have.
Lauren?
The Board of Health is not meeting, they're going to be rescheduling, they didn't have a quorum. The Chamber hasn't met yet, but you guys have all just received from Andrew McKesh a wonderful, invitation. Did you just steal my? Tenafly Chamber of Commerce Annual Dinner honoring the Clinton Inn, thank you. Wednesday, January 30th, and we hope you, all of the council can attend. The joint use is coming up, and we need to have a new SRO appointed. We should speak to Chief Chamberlain in the meantime and find out if that's happening.
Police Commission has already met.
Oh, excellent. And so,
Do they have a new candidate picked out for SRO?
Let me know if that should be closed session or not.
okay,
Close because it's personnel.
okay.
Closed session.
and, I'm no longer on the welcoming, but, oh, no, excuse me, I'm no longer on the youth, but they need to have a calendared meeting, because we did not meet
Well, I
for
have been,
many months.
I've told Mark 3 or 4 times, including today, and I believe he sent out a schedule.
There is one scheduled for the 5th.
February 5th.
Yeah,
And-
Mark has,
Mhm.
first of all, we have practically a brand-new committee.
Excellent.
So Mark has scheduled the meetings for the entire year, and Vanu will be giving those reports.
Excellent. Okay.
That's it. Just I wanted to mention that at the last mayor's breakfast, we had, first of all, we had our labor attorney there, Mark Ruderman, who, there's really nothing totally exciting to talk about. He's concerned because the cap is off on these arbitration. But there have been really no new decisions coming down where you could get a trend. The other speaker was from Burbio. I mentioned this to Lauren. Burbio sounds like a very promising company. They basically come into a community and gather all of the nonprofits, all of the school activities, all of the borough activities onto one calendar and offer it as a free service to residents. They make their money on advertising, okay? I asked them if they would come in and give a very short presentation. When is it? Do you know?
I didn't get a response.
Oh, I
Didn't
did.
respond.
I did. What was the date I gave them? Was it the second one, right? The 20, was it
29th, I
the
have to double
29th.
check.
They're gonna be here on the 29th. They have gone into a whole slew of towns in Bergen County, and none of the mayors that have them, I know they're in Bergenfield, I spoke with a number of the mayors, they all say it's very nice. Because, Lauren, we've talked about calendars, and I think this might be the answer, and you can opt out of certain things, like if you want a calendar but you don't want Board of Ed events, they don't put it on your, it's all computerized, I don't know, it's beyond my understanding.
You opt in, you subscribe.
I'm sorry?
It's a subscription service.
Yeah, but you don't pay for it.
No, you don't pay, but you subscribe until.
You subscribe to whatever entities you want to be made aware of. It sounds like a very interesting thing, so. That's it for me. Max, you have anything?
Yeah, the Senior Citizen Committee met, and we had a presentation by, I forgot the name of the lady, from Englewood for.
Janet Sharma.
Okay, for Age in Place. There are many services that they put together basically for people in Englewood for aging in place, with references and everything via a grant from a charity that gave them the grant. That grant will expire. Tenafly unfortunately does not qualify or did not apply in time for that type of grant. We discussed the activities in town for age in place, and the issue that was mostly discussed was share housing for senior citizens, but nothing was specifically done because we do not have either an active committee or people that have the knowledge of how to create this share housing for the seniors. We didn't have a report on the bus because we didn't get the last month, and unfortunately the senior coordinator was not there to give us the report, but she's doing an outstanding job. She had home visits and everything else. That's it.
Just to piggyback on what Max said, so Englewood has a very active aging in place organization funded by the Taub Foundation, whose funding is going to be ending very shortly, and that committee will be dissolved because they don't have any money. Janet is a paid part-time employee that's done a wonderful job, but this was totally by the Taub Foundation. They've decided they're no longer going to fund this sort of thing, so that's very, very unfortunate. You said something else that I wanted to piggyback on. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and Perrine is doing it, like Max said, Perrine is just doing an the shared housing. The shared housing, it's an interesting concept, and I think we might have touched on this briefly some time ago. The question becomes, though, in a town like Tenafly, what the demand is. You know, there's a lot of people that I think would benefit from sharing homes, seniors that can't afford to cover the costs of a home, where if they took in, I don't wanna say a boarder, but a partner, that could share the expenses, it might enable two people to age in place rather than no people. The problem is making the connection. You know, it's not easy to place somebody in somebody else's home, and that's really the difficult part. But nevertheless, I'm trying to remember, Max, I don't believe that we were told how many successful matches they've had in Englewood. It's
No.
it's not a large number,
No.
but so, you know, although the concept sounds good, the reality of it is I'm not sure how it would work in Tenafly, but it's something obviously to consider. Vanu, you have anything?
Yeah, and so I misspoke, the date is February 13th for the youth services meeting. And then there was just one meeting during the period. I went back home to the Board of Adjustments.
You remember who you were?
They remember. And gave me my special spot. But it was basically a reorg meeting. There was no new business. But they did swear the second alternate, Ralph Cho, and Joel became first, became a board member, taking my spot.
Promoted.
Yeah, and Dan Steinhagen became the first alternate. So, and then all the previous chair and all the other positions were the same.
Who's the chair now?
Adam Kaminsky.
Adam Kaminsky.
And isn't there a new second chair?
But it's the same as the previous year.
I don't
So
think-
there was a second vice chair, which the committee
No, the
voted down.
The second vice chair is Alan Citron, no?
Well, there's a vice chair, he's Alan Citron.
Right,
And then there was another second vice chair
Oh.
position created,
that's Paul?
but they decided they didn't want a second
No,
vice chair, so they.
I never heard of that. Did you have a second vice chair when you were there?
We actually created in the bylaws probably about 8 years ago, because we did have a situation where the chair and the vice chair were not always making the meeting.
Okay. Any other committee reports? Jeff, please?
Yes, two different reports. First of all, the planning board met, and Mary Beth Wilmot was reelected chair. It was a reorg meeting. All the professionals were reappointed. In addition, there was a suggestion by John Worms, who is here tonight, discussing that charging stations for cars be something the town should be providing, and furthermore, there should be an ordinance requiring multifamily dwellings to put in charging stations. John, if I've misspoken in any way, let me know. That covered it? Also.
We're gonna make a recommendation to the planning board.
Also, Valerie Nicolosi will be talking to Joe Burgess about, now that COA is resolved, about open space wording and historic preservation wording. And the last bit of business, and Mayor, you can add to this if you want, I'm just summarizing that you talked about the Clinton Inn, new owners, and possible plans that they have. And also the triangle at the bottom of Highwood and County, and the possible plans that might exist there.
Well, I'll skip the triangle because, you know, I don't know where that's going, to be honest with you, but Bob Burns and I met with the new owners of the Clinton Inn. When I say the new owners, they bought it a couple of years ago, but this is the first time, actually maybe the second time I met the CEO of the company that owns the company that has the Clinton Inn.
What is the name of the company?
Wentworth Management. Okay, because Spring Hills LLC is the company that really operates the Clinton Inn, but apparently Wentworth Management, the number one stockholder, and that is also the number one stockholder in Spring Hills. In any case, they closed on the three properties, the vacant house, the house that was already demolished, and Stancato's, the vacant restaurant. This was a 3-year process due to the issues with the title. In any case, they will be coming before our site plan committee at some point in a few months, I guess, to talk about their process. What they reiterated, which is something that I mentioned some time ago when they originally bought the inn, is they look to build a new hotel south of the inn, which is basically where the 2 houses and the restaurant were, and then convert the current building into assisted living.
Will the hotel be owned by Wentworth Management, or are they selling it to a chain?
No, what they probably would do is keep the property and lease it to a management team, like Marriott comes in, for practical purposes. I have no idea what the arrangement would be. They're looking to get some sort of a national chain in there,
Right?
which would be nice. But, I mean, their plans are exceptional. It's another sense of, bringing more traffic and more people to the downtown. And most important, keeping the restaurant and enlarging the catering space. The ballroom has been a little small for some of the major functions. I know in my high school reunion, we had to go to Teaneck, to Glen Point, because it was too big for the ballroom in the Clinton Inn. So everything they've said is extremely positive, and they went public this past week. So it's been on Facebook, and it's going to be in the Northern Valley Press. So they're
I
gonna
also
move on.
have the HPC report when
Oh, okay. Well, I'm done.
Okay, so, HPC, and I only mention that because HPC, true to form, has tons of stuff every time. They're not.
At least they have a quorum.
They have a quorum. Karen News was re-elected chair, Mike Barone was elected vice chair. Some of the things that they discussed, and there's quite a bit, so I'll whittle it down. Mike Barone discussed the fact that the path from the bridge to Oresco Park Monument is washed away in large part. I've already been in touch.
From the where? Oh, this
From-
bridge?
From this bridge to the monument, that there's been a lot of erosion in that path already. And I understand from Lizette, the contractor, has been contacted.
He's coming in the spring to put the ceiling, because anything he will put down will be washed away with the weather.
Okay. And so they also were emphatic, and HPC used that word, about the completion of the path from the park, from Oresco Park Center going to Washington Street. That the path should be done as a change order rather than going out to new bid, that they would like to see us put that in the budget.
It can't be a change order.
I'm just saying what they said. I'm
Well,
reporting, I'm not.
that part is a little irrelevant, but, their suggestion that, and I know, Max, we talked about that as well. I think it's needed, it's just a matter of dollars and cents.
Absolutely.
They mentioned a change order because it was in the original plan and we modified the plan.
We changed
So
it.
there might be a way. Rita Heller suggested that we, and I've spoken to the mayor briefly about this, that we add the monument to the Memorial Day parade route. You said that you would get me a contact at the Elks, so whenever you have a chance.
I will.
Appreciate. There was also discussion, and this is because of the way the ordinances were drafted last fall. The apothecary building, which is also known as the Smith Building, really didn't have an ordinance. They are going to reach out to the owner before proceeding with this to see if she is interested in having it designated as a historic site. If she is interested, then they would like us to go forward with.
She was the one that was supportive of it, correct?
She was, but she did have a number of questions.
We need a brief.
So that's why Karen News is going to go back to her just to make sure that the support is still there.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of discussion about the Roosevelt Monument and the Commons. The only thing that I'd like to add about that, because we know that there's gonna be matching funds, there's matching funds for the monument. This is kind of interesting. The landscape around it was done by a landscape architect, Marjorie Sewell Caudley. And she was one of the first, if not the first major female landscape architect in our country. And so this is a big deal. They actually have been in contact with the state. The state has never really designated a landscape as a historic place. And they are interested in that. The state is interested. They've already changed their application for Tenafly so that we can apply to have it designated. So
Does
that
the
could,
designation come with any funding?
well, potentially in
open
the
the door to
it
funding,
opens
right?
the door to funding.
Great.
Exactly what it does.
Great.
Then there was discussion of two different properties that had been identified, and Robin Brown has done a study on. One is the Lambier House, which is 425 Hudson. That's the one adjacent to basically the nature center, accessible from 9W on North Hudson.
It's a beautiful house.
And the other is the KBC Smith House, which is 8 Old Smith Road, which is the one you see from East Clinton as you go down at the bottom of the hill. The owners of the 8 Old Smith Road are absolutely opposed to having it designated, so I suspect that is not going to go anywhere.
You know, we are the owners of the Lambier House, and I think before they go any further on that, we ought to ask Bob Culvert for his opinion, only because I don't know what kind of shape that building is in,
I thought
and
that was privately owned.
I don't,
the
don't think
one
we
up by
do
the
own
nature
that.
center? No, that's
No,
ours.
the one as you come off
Yeah,
from 9W, the path is,
yeah, no,
with the
that's
stone
ours.
wall.
We own it.
not according to what they were saying at the HPC.
Well, if we don't own it, I
We
know
don't own
I
it.
know we do maintain it. Maybe we maintain
There's,
it.
there's something like 9
When
It
they
was
had,
Laurel, when I
excuse
told
me,
them.
just historically, when they sold us the 1 acre lot, that 1 acre lot was to pay for repairs to the mansion, which they were responsible for repairing. It was
No,
their
no,
house.
the mansion is privately owned. I'm,
I thought we were
I
talking about the
I
mansion.
believe, Jeff, I believe we own the Lambier House. The only reason I believe that is because somebody once approached us and wanted to lease the garage from us. There's a garage at the Lambier House, and we've also done some repairs there. I don't know, I can't tell you for a
So
fact.
here's part of it is, I believe that the entire property that
So we don't have
was
to buy it.
the Lambier property is about
We do
9
have to.
acres. It's
No, you
huge.
don't. You just
Of which the house is on a small
You don't
portion.
You
So
just
we
say
do
you
own
have plans.
a lot of the land, and maybe even it could include a garage, but I think the dwelling itself, and it looks like Mr. McKesh
Andrew?
has something to it.
There are two houses there. There's a big mansion
Well, the big mansion is
with a
privately
big
owned.
field that's privately owned. The smaller house is where the nature center is getting from the town for use, and the director lives there. And there's a garage in the back of that.
Yeah, but when you say the nature, the director of the nature center traditionally has lived in the Lambier House.
Then that's a
But
smaller
you-
house.
But, right, but you say that we're getting it from the borough, because I believe the borough owns it.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's right. No,
Yes, the
no.
borough owns it, maintains it, we have use of it.
That's right, so my concern is before we go any further with the designation, we ought to at least make sure that Bob Culvert is aware of it, because I know from time to time, it requires significant repairs.
Sorry.
Lisette, in your experience, have you come in contact at all with any, or Susan's not here? Where's Susan?
Susan I gave her the address, she's actually checking, or
Susan,
later.
I'm gonna
She'll
check.
check
are
it.
you aware of any repairs that we've done in that house recently,
Yeah.
since you got here?
I'm not aware of any, but
We did
I
last
could
year,
go
we did
check,
repairs,
to
and
see
the
if
year
it's on the
before.
tax.
Well, she didn't know.
And you put a generator in too.
Oh, no, in capital, no, we.
No, I'm just
no.
asking in general, obviously, we would, I'm fairly confident we own that house.
Yeah, we do.
To Peter's house.
I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not suggesting don't designate it, I'm only suggesting that we need to take the condition of the house into account before we move it along.
I haven't seen Robin Brown's report. When I see it, she identifies all the history. Anyway, to finish up, I did tell them and invited them to take part in the 125th anniversary.
Hold on, Jeff, I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I did tell them about the 125th anniversary committee and asked them to take part. Ms. News also mentioned that one of the properties we had designated